Let's see if we can hear these transatlantic twats.
Oi. Oi.
Hello. So, yeah, welcome. Listen, let's kick this off with, I know it's kind of old now, it's old news, but our final, I know you did a great little short used to on the final word on Willow.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Who wants to kick off? Randy, you.
Okay.
Kick off with the final kind of, let's all try and find closure with this series.
I need a lot more therapy for that.
Off button. On the off button. You just off button.
Let's call it therapy, the therapeutic hogCAST. Because you, Randy, out of everyone, out of us collected here, was the one that was you was finding the sweet corn in the poo, weren't you? You really was. You are. You really was.
Much.
You really was choosing the choicest nuggets. So let's kick off with you and your final thoughts on what it means, or no, what it did, what it means, and if it moved anything forward. Really, did it?
It is a really clunky story. I mean, that's to be sure. And I think Amber has been right on this. Amber and whoever else she's been talking with, where they had suggested that there's probably several scripts. They probably shot several scripts and then patched them together.
What they call the scrapbook method.
The scrapbook method. And that would explain
that's become a phrase now, scrapbooking. What the fuck?
See, I think more the several scripts put through a shredder and someone just tapes some bits together and that's.
This is just assuming they had a script. It might have just all been ad-libbed.
Yeah. Some random notes on the toilet wall.
So
okay, I think there had to have been at least one script there, because there are moments that are well written that do adhere to, the right rules of storytelling. So there are definitely moments there that shine brighter than the rest. I think any part of this that I talk about being good could have been much better, but there is definitely evidence that there was some writing. The fact that it's kind of sparse and scattered is what makes me think that Amber's right, that we are talking about several scripts and they patchworked it together. And that's bad. So I don't know. If they had one consistent writing team for season 2 and they move forward, that would improve it greatly. Even if they had the worst of the writing team on there, at least it would be consistent.
Has season 2 been confirmed?
Oh, please, no, series 2.
Oh,
I've heard nothing about it yet.
Yay.
I've got some bad news for you, though. We'll talk about it in a minute.
Why?
I think there's going to be a season 2. They're begging for it.
The books that go in the bookcase at the end. Oh.
Well, that was the confirmation, wasn't it? Straight away, where it was the confirmation. Season 1, season 2, season 3.
I thought it was delusional to put that there.
Yeah, that is a good word. So we've got clunky from Randy, and we've got delusional from Amber. But I think it was you, Amber, that said that it was almost like the loose draft of the first draft of the script, rather than something that had been honed into an episodic format. And like Randy just said, there were elements of a story there. But what I would say is, a lot of any idiot can throw 6 hours of a story together and something will gel. It is literally flicking the shit at the wall and something will stick.
I think the main thing with it is
a notepad and say, the prince, the handsome prince and the fairy princess, tell us a story. That 5-year-old will, at some point in the 8 episodes you've given that child, I think, Randy, mate, you and your scoring, your 8s and 10s and 8s and 9, 8 halves. What I'm trying to say is that's way too generous. I just think their shocking lack of any kind of talent is still going to, what you're saying, you're not wrong, but that's an accident.
I think the main thing for me that stood out is quite clear.
It didn't happen often enough. If it was one character's arc worked all the way through, you'd think, someone had a plan here. No?
No, it was quite clear that it just didn't know what it was. That was the thing that was so clear to me all the way through. It just didn't know what it was. You've got funny lines, like in that last episode, Willow goes, now I'm going to go off and kill these blokes. like you've got little funny lines like that in it and little one-liners. And that Borman comes out with some funny one-liners as well that just make you think, okay, they're trying to be a spoof, but they're not trying to be that. And that's why it feels lost. It's almost like you've got 5 kids around the writing table that have all got a different vision for it. And instead of debating it and trying to work it into one cohesive story, that, like we said before, they've all just gone, let's put all our ideas in there and let's just see what happens.
And was it you,
I think
Randy,
that's exactly what happened.
said about the sexualization of Borman?
Yes,
I
saw your review. Yeah, it was.
Randy was the one who really noticed it more than me, because I think some of the sex jokes went over my head, but I think also I just didn't think they were funny, so I wasn't sure what he was even talking about.
But it only seemed to come across in the last episode.
Yeah.
Up to that point, all right, maybe, and I ain't going to ever watch it again, but maybe I'm thinking he might have been a little bit cheeky or coarse once or twice. But that last episode, it seemed like he was very, very horny guy.
He's been on the road. He's been on the road for an amount of time.
Like, he wanted a bit, didn't it? It was like my
Hog.
episode.
Let me point out that they've been at sea for a long time, and we know the rumors about sailors, right?
Exactly.
Randy, do not say seaman, otherwise I'm going to have to censor you.
No, I said sailors.
We don't go there.
Oh, okay. I wasn't going to go there.
But no, you
Okay,
start with a Borman, noticing Borman, and why would he do exactly what I'm saying? I think what we're all kind of saying, it
was just repetitive every single episode.
Do you think he might have been ad-libbing, the actor, and just that's why it felt so random? And this was, because 7 and 8 are definitely a part 1 and 2. Like they are the most cohesive out of all the episodes. Everything beforehand, I mean, you could have done what Kaleidoscope did and rearranged them, it wouldn't have mattered. But for this one, it felt like it was a part 1 and a 2, and his humor was about the same through 7 and 8.
I didn't notice that.
Well, because the camera wasn't on him most of the time. But remember when he was on the mud sled, and he said the creature's tired because he needs to mate or something.
But it's like
when they're
at the top of that, when they're at the top of that waterfall, like just something simple that doesn't make sense. When they're at the top of that waterfall, and Speckled Jesus is going, well, who's going to protect Kit? Well, Kit's the protector.
Yeah.
So does the protector need a protector? And if so, who's going to protect the protector? It just keeps going on. And they're saying they've got to go alone, but then they're saying all this other stuff.
Randy did nail that again. Randy nailed it again with in your review, guys.
That was a good review, by the way.
Where you literally described what each character should have done, which is one line and jump. I'm doing it for this reason. I'm doing it for this reason. I think you nailed it there. For that
100%.
For that one.
I think I have some good news for you guys.
Go on. There isn't.
So you're waiting for me to really bag on the show.
No,
let me just.
We want you. I want you to balance us out because we hate.
Okay, all right. I'm going to give a prediction for season 2, which is it's going to be bad, and I'll tell you why.
That's it. Done.
We'll get more views. Yay!
Okay, I'm. If we review it, I'm still going to do the same thing. I'm going to look at what works from a point of view of a writer. I mean, because some of the stuff works as a writer and doesn't come across very well if the actor can't deliver it or the directors can't direct the scene. But the reason I think that this is going to be just as bad next season is because the whole farce thing. They don't understand the difference between a farce and an actual honest attempt at a fantasy. And you know, Monty Python, they do farce, but we know that's a farce and that's accepted. But with this show, is never portrayed as a farce, and they don't understand it. So as long as they continue in that route, this show will never be good.
But I think I said early on about, I think it was one of the first or second episodes where I was wrestling with, do they know what they're doing? As in, this is going to be really funny if it's knowing. If they're going down the Princess Bride route of doing that, then this is going to be really funny. But then, so they would be doing it and I'd be chuckling along, and then they would do something really serious or very wholesome or worthy or whatever it is. And
see, the humor never ended in Princess Bride. Even the drama was hilarious.
yes.
It was not a single moment was taken seriously.
Is it a farce? Is it serious? Is it this? Is it that?
See, I think the ad-libbing's a good thing. I think she might have hit the nail on the head there with the ad-libbing. I think they just said, look, you're going to go to this place, just say some stuff. That was it. do some stuff.
2022 was a really bad year. 2022 was a really bad year for fantasy genre.
Oh, God, you ain't kidding. You ain't kidding.
But I think that was, I thought, for me, in summary, my last words on it is I didn't think Dismal could go any lower. And there wasn't a character you could follow through the story. Any fool who's done basic English could have said beginning, middle, end of a story. Yeah. There was nothing. It was such a hollow waste of everyone's time. It's shocking. It's shocking, and I don't know how it keeps. It only takes one decent producer to oversee. It's like there's no oversight. There's no teacher at class.
No, there's not.
And all the kids are just mucking about and doing what they want. There's no teacher to say, right, sit down. I know you've all got good ideas, but we've got to, come on.
It's literally like the producers are the parents when the kid does a really shit drawing and they go, oh, no, it's great.
Hey, there is no parenting control.
No, not at all.
That write it. Come up with your first draft. We've all done a first draft of something. And when you come back to it the next day or a week later and you go, God, I actually wrote that. Like, we have all done it. But with collaboration, which is what TV is all about, and film, it is a team effort. It seems like there was no one there that anyone could trust to say,
this is bullshit.
Yes.
I'm going to be so polite. I'm going to have to get a little bleeper, Amber, if that's the way you're going to go tonight.
Keep it going, girl. Keep it going.
You're going to get angry. I don't normally swear, but now you've started, I'm just going to.
You could just have to keep it out of the rated R swearing, which now I guess I have no idea. Honestly,
I'm only joking, by the way. I'm only joking. But no, you're right.
It's all bollocks.
There's no. Don't all start. Oh, come on, let's all say a swear word now, shall we? Get it out of our system. Come on, everyone.
Really?
No.
Drop the C-bomb.
Donk, yeah.
Be careful with that one. I think that one will get flagged.
Yes.
The one we use is C Unit.
C Unit. Yeah.
C Unit.
Tayters' favourite.
My favourite. C Unit. Eh?
So with Willow, let's just wrap that one up, and let's just send that one out of sale.
Yeah. Wrap it up, forget about it. Erase it from
season 2.
Does anyone really want to see a series 2? And do they? And if you do you really think they can redeem themselves?
That's why I'd want to see season 2 to see if they can actually realise what they messed up in the first one.
No, it'd be more of the same. It'd be more of the same.
Sorry, go ahead.
It'd be Yeah, it'd be more of the same, because when you've got that basis, season 2 has to build off of season 1. Otherwise, there's no point. So when you've got a basis of shit, season 2 will be sinking into that shit and getting all sludgy and just as bad.
And they will be assuming that season 1 was a success. So that's why we're doing series 2. So if they're looking at that as a success, they are going to do more of the same.
In what alternate reality is that a success?
Well, if we see a series 2,
well, we all watched it.
Given, isn't it?
All they see is viewing figures. They don't care that people think it's shite.
Well, apparently it's the lowest ever.
I want to see season 2.
Yeah, I do too. Just, more of the same, but that's fine. More to talk about.
Yeah, it gives us something to talk about, I suppose, doesn't it?
Okay, so let me explain though. So that has been really great for our channel. Our numbers have skyrocketed because this is such a horrible show that people are eager to find out. And I think they actually enjoy me pointing out exactly why on writing terms, and what Amber does as well, why it's repulsive to everyone who's watching. So for me, that's awesome. That's a win-win.
Well, it's what made Hog popular was She-Hulk and Ewoks.
We don't talk about Ewoks. That's when I thought Dismal couldn't get any worse, was She-Hulk. Another abomination. But then Willow come along. So yeah, for purely selfish reasons, I should be wishing for many, many more series to come of Willow. But it does suck the life, like Amber said in the last video. You was exhausted. It does. Your brain can't, like, you hurt yourself trying to apply logic to this show.
Yeah, you can't.
You don't. It hurts. It hurts. You think, I know it's wrong, but now I've got to write, and it's always a big A4, chunky A4 pad that you fill up. It's not just one or two little nit. It's an avalanche of crap.
It is. But quick segue, talking to season 2s, have you heard the information about season 2 of Kenobi?
What?
Have you heard the information about season 2 of Kenobi?
No.
Oh, right. So from what I gather, they're not calling it season 2. They're pretty. Yeah, it's going to be called Kenobi Twin Sons. That's the thing that they're going with at the moment. They're going to completely ignore everything they've done in season 1. That it will follow on in terms of timeline, so it'll still be the timeline, but they just won't make any references to anything that happened in season 1 whatsoever. So this is the loose sort of thing, and they're aiming for late 24, early 25.
Is that Filoni did that?
Yeah,
it makes sense. He would say that was BS. We're starting from scratch, so we might get something good.
It won't be Kenobi season 2. It'll be Kenobi. Well, like I say, the loose title at the moment is Twin Sons, so they're calling it a soft reboot.
Well, the thing is, anyone subscribed to Dismal Minus hasn't got a very good memory span, so they won't even realise that there was a series 1. By the time series 2 comes out in a year and a half, it's like
I've said it before. Kenobi was the one that hurt.
I don't remember a Star Wars film.
I said it before. Kenobi's the one that hurt me the most.
Well,
so
again,
it will take a lot.
But the information coming out is basically they're going to use more of the story that was meant to be in the Kenobi trilogy movie. So the chances are we're going to get Mace Windu in. You're going to see all the characters that you want to see. So, like I say, it's all loose at the moment. It's all still in the sort of planning stages, but this is what I'm getting from people I know.
If it's a soft reboot, get rid of the original series from Disney Plus. Just wipe it off.
Soft reboot.
Erase it from history.
Well, they're going to ignore it. They are literally going to ignore it. That's what they're saying. Sorry, that's slightly off plan of what we had to talk about, but
Kathleen Kennedy is gone from the Disney company after Indy 5, apparently. If the rumours are to be believed, I will relax a bit more because I'm seeing little green shoots of recovery in Andor.
Will you unclench?
Yeah, I will. Not completely, because it is still. There's still going to be a lot of behind
No
the
season 2.
I still think there are a lot of kind of think tanks that, in political terms, that the producers have got to accommodate while they are creating these shows. And it does all boil back to, let's not go there too much, but it does all boil down to representation, inclusivity, etc., etc. But it's forced, and it makes everything crap because they're thinking about that. Where can we shoehorn that in?
But it's only false because of the poor writing. If you've got a good writer, it won't feel false, and it doesn't matter. It feels false because of the shit writing.
I think it's also because the idea of multiple heads being involved and no oversight of everything.
Exactly.
Yeah, so you've got somebody who maybe wrote a good story, but then you've got this, at least this is what I'm comparing to, is the sensitivity readers in publishing.
Yes.
You got somebody who comes in after the story is written and they say, we need to put this in and this storyline in, and we need to put this character in. And that's what makes things seem like really jumbled, because then maybe there's an attempt afterwards to try to fit it together, but it's a lot of work to overhaul a story when you're adding elements like that. And I just don't think that work's being done.
No, when you're trying to get a quota of something into a story, no good. So it's remind us, but I think when Kennedy goes, I think that'll be a big weight off of a lot of people's shoulders.
Yeah.
A lot of people's shoulders. And well, keeping on the Disney theme, I think that's enough Willow. So from that to something decent, which I'm sorry I was late, guys, but Avatar 2. Now I know Amber and Spaces were talking about it, but you didn't want to give too much away. Randy, have you seen it? Tayters, have you seen it?
Still not had time, man.
Randy, you seen Avatar 2?
Oh, no, I have not.
Are you awake? Hello?
I'm sorry, I had to make some adjustment to the equipment. I was away from the mic. I have not seen Avatar 2, no.
No, me either.
What'd you think?
Spoiler alert. Now, I loved it. Did I love it as much as the first film? No. The only thing that took me out of it was the street talk of teenaged Na'vi, which I thought was absolutely ridiculous. And I also thought it was contradictory to what they were trying to do. Now, Cameron is getting to an age now, and he's at a level where we're talking about things like Willow.
You're the same age, aren't you?
And there's no collaboration. But I think it seems like Cameron is getting to a place now where no one's tapping him on the shoulder and going, "Oh mate, this is getting a bit too saccharine. This is getting a bit too schmaltzy," because it was really going into the cheese fest side. What do you think of dialogue? Not the storytelling. I weren't expecting anything groundbreaking storytelling wise. It was very traditional. You know, when the mermaid character comes up and, you know, she might as well have just winked at the old Na'vi turn up, you know, and the music kicks in. It was like, oh, and she's going like that with a little netting over her bits. And, and he's over there puffed out his chest and he's going, "Oh, darling," like that. It was all to be expected. I'm kind of wanting that. I didn't want any sex scenes or anything because it's a PG, but it was all expected. And it was like, I was going to say fish out of water story then, but but it was the inclusivity and what a few of us have spoken about before is how good sci-fi brings all of these things that are in our real lives, like say racism or sexism, and how someone can rise above all that. But instead of a black person, you have an alien, or instead of a woman or a man, you have just androgynous. That's how sci-fi works, and that's how these imaginative writers and directors and creators have made some great sci-fi over the years. So why? And Cameron is really leaning into all that. I don't want to use the W word of woke, but he's really, I just did, but he's really leaning into it. So why give both tribes of the same age of Na'vi? So you've got the fish Na'vi and you've got the jungle Na'vi, all talking like contemporary American teenagers with bruv and bro and cuz. Why not make that linguistically tribal? Give them accents, give them identity, and then you are really attacking the things that you say you are, like inclusivity and diversity. But that would have made it even more stark. No,
it didn't feel like different tribes, really. It just felt like it just felt like people from the inner city have gone to the seaside town.
It's just a mush. No, but both of them were the same. They're both the same. There's no apart from one's light green and one's blue. Oh, is that it? Because apart from that, but that was the only thing that took me out. I mean, it did look gorgeous. I mean, it sounds like I'm really down on the film.
What did you think of the ending?
Oh, it got me. Cameron always gets me at the end. He does.
Yeah, but in terms of Spider's decision, because that was the bit I was moaning on last time.
Up, didn't it?
That wound me right up.
Because he's gonna, like, Quaritch is gonna be in all of it now.
Yeah.
What did you think, Amber?
So I thought, okay, first of all, before I say anything about the ending, I might have a little insight into James Cameron and what's going on in his head. So there was that other channel that I looked at called Local, and he clearly thinks that the movies are not his favorite, but he thinks that they're well done. And what he pointed out was there was a really, really original score written for this movie by, I think it's James Horner did the soundtrack. It was going to be like nothing we had ever heard before. It was very tribal, but very alien at the same time. All kinds of strange instruments for it. I mean, invented instruments as well. And James Cameron heard that and said, nope, I need it to be something that's really going to, reach into people with something that they can be familiar with and pull at their emotions. And it's a good soundtrack. You listen to the soundtrack of Avatar and it's recognizable. One of the few recognizable soundtracks that you're hearing in a movie today. They pulled it into movie 2. If it was something really experimental, people might have remembered the sound, but the melody would have been tougher. Like there's certain tracks in Dune that I'm like, that was cool, very experimental, but there's no melody to it. There's nothing that's reaching in and grabbing hold of your heart. And there are things you can do with music that literally pull up memories and sadness from you. Just mathematically, how the notes are played one after another triggers something in our brains. And that's what he wanted. He wanted something that he knows really works. So I think that when you're asking, like, is there nobody checking James Cameron? Why did he have these kids talking the way that he did? I think it's because he knows his first audience is going to be Americans, young people, Americans. They're the ones who went to see the first one. He wants it to be relatable to them. I do think it was, it was a little bit overboard. It didn't bug me all that much because honestly, I knew this is not a movie about the writing. It's just about the visuals. So I was there for the visuals and I came out satisfied. As far as the ending goes, the spider character is weird because I only felt like there was one sibling in the Jake Sully's family who was concerned about him when he got taken away. Everybody else is like, well, they don't even think about him. Like, too bad for him.
Yeah,
He's
disposable.
Guys. They could have just had a conversation to say, I hope he's okay. He's a rogue, though. He's not part of anybody. He's not with the good guys. He's not with the bad guys. He wants to be with the good guys. But now they're trying to I think, create an element of relatability with the bad guys. They're humanizing the bad guys, and they're going to do it through Spider. I thought he was seeing things that weren't there, but at the same time, I think that that's the goal going forward. I think that what's the main guy, the main bad guy's name? What's his name?
Quaritch.
Quaritch.
Okay, Quaritch. He
Yeah,
is going to have a change of heart, I think,
Really?
and it's going to happen through Spider. Otherwise, why is this happening?
Yeah,
interesting, because what Spacers is he saying? Oh my god, just leave him there to die, get over it. But what now saying, and I was saying, I was nodding when Spacers was saying that. I'm thinking, yeah. So now what you're saying, Amber, I don't know about you, Spacers, that makes it sounds a bit more intriguing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it does and it doesn't, because for me,
or is it too contrived?
It is a bit contrived, yeah.
Yeah, when you know that you've got a 3, a 4, and a 5, because that's what his plan is, and we've got 3 coming out in like 2 years' time. You need to. They've already upped the stakes with the fact that humans are now trying to take over Pandora because their world is dying, Earth is dying. So they've got to do this. Not just trying to mine for stuff. They're not just trying to mine for that whale juice either. They've got to take the planet. So the stakes have been raised in that aspect. But when you keep film on film on film with the same bad guy again and again, and at the end of the next one, if it doesn't go that way and he doesn't have a change of heart, we're going to see another fight between him and Jake. Then it's going to, you think he's going to die and then he'll survive into the next one. At what point do we say enough's enough? For me, the way his arc went, he's come back as a Na'vi. He's on that ship. Jake's son's just died, and they have an epic little fight. That's the perfect little end. I don't want to see a redeeming arc for him. He's a bad guy. Whatever happened to bad guys, just being bad. Why do we always have to try and redeem him? Just let him be bad and kill him off and then move on.
If Spider, like, if it had ended where old Jake has got Quaritch and they're underwater anyway, so I don't know why they're trying to strangle the air out of each other.
Exactly.
But anyway, let's get over that.
I'll be back in one moment.
All right, Taters. If Spider had witnessed Jake snapping his dad's neck, for some reason, Spider's witnessed this, snapped his neck in front of him. Now Spider can be the bad guy in the next film, because now he has been friends with the Na'vi and he thought that they weren't like that. But don't forget to take his half.
And how much more? And how much more interesting would that have been? Because he knows them inside out. He's lived with them. He's a much more dangerous bad guy in terms of the knowledge that he's got.
In James Cameron's defense, and like, I've got nothing, I did enjoy that movie. And I don't know about you two, but it did romp along for 3 hours.
Yeah, I do. I still stand by a half hour in the middle,
which a lot of films do. But other than that, it did, there was a bit too many shots of swimming and stuff. But other than that, I think that went along for 3 hours, and it was like bang, done.
Yeah,
I think it was better paced than June. Even I loved June more than this film, but I mean pace wise.
Oh yeah, but Dune is a different type of story.
Yeah.
I mean, Dune is a political drama as much as it is a science fiction action. And that's where a lot of the tension comes in is, oh my gosh, these houses are trying to kill each other. At least one of them is.
Yeah.
Dune's essentially Game of Thrones in space. I know Dune came first, but it's essentially Game of Thrones in space. So you have to have that slow burner to start off with.
No, but I agree. I felt like the pacing was, with the exception of, I'll agree with Space Lizard, it did feel like they could have cut a half hour out of the middle. The pacing was good. I think there was a little bit too much story going on, because we had the story with the one younger son who was, with the whale, and then we had the story with Sigourney Weaver's Avatar, and then we had the story with Spider, and then I would say the story with I want to call him Quidditch. What's his name?
We'll just call him Quidditch from now on. We'll just call him Quidditch. Let's go for it.
He had a bit of a story. I mean, it was a lot of different storylines, whereas in the first film, we were really just following Jake's experience. So if I was going to do this again, I would say cut out one of those stories. I mean, move it to later on or something.
Over ambitious, would you say,
Um,
in that respect?
yeah, I think, but you know what? This, you have to look at this as being part of a series too.
Yeah, yeah.
You're not watching one movie. You're watching part one of a three-part thing. Because I think there's going to be 4 or 5 movies or whatever. So the first movie was standalone. It could have been by itself.
Yes.
You could end that and it's the end.
Never a sequel. That would just sit there and that's fine.
Yeah. This was clearly setting up stuff for coming up because we still don't know what's going on with Sigourney Weaver's character, right? They never revealed that. I have a theory, but anyway, I won't go into that. Anyway, I think they could have simplified it to make this more of a standalone, but for being a part one of multiple parts that are going to come out, it certainly set up plenty of drama for us.
Yeah.
And it does sound like that I'm hating on it, but I did generally enjoy it. Like I said, I scored it an 8 out of 10. But there was just a few little bits that just took me out of it, and I've struggled to recover from that because I wanted to love it because I loved the first one, and I still do love it. It's just those little bits. I'm like, you could have eased it as a quick win. You could have easily just changed that or done this or done that. And yeah, I don't know.
Was it you who told me that there's the director's cut has another hour and a half of footage in it?
Wow.
That's a rumor. I'm not sure though.
I can see it happening.
I hope so. I hope so.
That might fix some of the problems that we saw in the theatrical cut.
Definitely.
Would it fix the problems, or are we going back to someone should just tap old Jimmy boy on the shoulder and go, come on, either make a series, either do it as an episodic series. Come on, we can't have a 5-hour film. You can't.
Well, we had Snyder's Justice League.
That was 4 hours, wasn't it?
Cutting to chapters.
Long enough.
Yeah, but cutting chapters.
Yeah.
/ episodes. So come on, make a film. Tell us the story. Don't tell us there's another hour and a half that helps make what we just watched make sense. That don't come away.
Yeah.
No. Let's make money. There's going to be a director's cut of the Blu-ray edition.
Has anyone seen how far it's gone up? Because last time I looked, it was before the last hogCAST. It was number 9 of the highest grossing of all time. So obviously since then, it's gone up.
I think it's gone up further than that.
I think it's like 7 or 6 now. I haven't all
of that because it sounds like we are being critical about things, but only because we love this stuff. But the dedication of not only James Cameron but the people around him and the actors, and when you watch some behind the scenes stuff and that as well, that I'd rather see all 5 of those than a second series of Willow. And I'm not even taking the piss. I just mean that everyone loves and respects and wants to do the best they can without anything else involved. And whereas, that isn't quite that, is it?
Now, some people on Willow are certainly doing the best that they can. I actually think that all the actors that were involved were probably doing the best that they could. I mean, what could they possibly have done to make
they had nothing to work with. Yeah, they left that in the cold, didn't they? Here's your script, and it's like, oh fuck.
some of the sets they had were good.
I mean, Spaces is an aficionado of the eyebrow of the Willow eyebrow. That's all he could do. Even in the last episode, that's all he could do.
Yeah.
Was turn up his eyebrow and
I can't do it. But
it's a bit of tape. It's a bit of tape here in a string, and someone offset is just
so.
Yeah.
That's the old stuff, right? That's the old stuff. Willow, Avatar, right? So that's one hit, that's one miss. You decide. Let's talk about something very, very current.
Mm.
The Last of Us.
Oh yes.
Who wants to? Have we all seen it, by the way?
Yes.
Randy, are you awake?
Yep,
I'm
he's there.
awake. I'm awake. I'm awake.
He's awake. He's awake. He's awake. Right, he's there.
All seen it.
Yes.
Yep.
Yep.
Yes.
Hey,
Awesome.
right. Who wants to lead off with this one? Right? I'll tell you what. Is there a gamer amongst us that played the game for a start?
No.
My daughter did.
Right, that's the nearest we're going to get, Randy. That means
Okay, so when episode 1 for our podcast comes out, Lucy is doing the podcast with us. So she is giving us the gamer point of view for the review.
Brilliant. Yeah, that's
Nice.
Awesome.
So
From her, what we learned is that they followed it very closely in this first episode. From some of the research, there were choices that the show. Sorry, let me go back to what Lucy told us. There was so much of it that was straight out of the game. She was just, stars were twinkling all around her while she was watching, like, yes, it's doing it. And then there were changes made, but the changes were not egregious. They didn't change anything. They kept everything going in the same way that it was supposed to be going. There were a few things that she informed Randy and I about that were in the game that were not in this episode that I felt, oh, the game did that better. They should have done that here. But there was nothing that I would say, oh, they really ruined that moment. And she agreed that everything was kept on the same railroad track.
And I have a comment in there. So while she's pointing out things that were different, in my mind, I'm thinking like, well, you go through a game, maybe you play it through 3 or 4 times, and you're going to have alternate scenes based on the choices you make. So for me, when she pointed out a scene was different, I'm just thinking like, well, that's just like a game, right? I just made a different decision this time, and I'm seeing this scene differently because of that choice. So I thought it was good.
Yeah.
I do think though we've spoken about it when they've done comic book adaptations from into film, into live action, and you want to be true to the source material, but you also want to bring something slightly different to it. And we've spoken about literal adaptations like Sandman, where it literally adapted every single page, like Snyder's Watchmen, where it adapts page for page exactly what was there. Then you get something like Daredevil that riffs off the source material but brings something different to it. I think some of the hardcore gamers are probably giving it a bit of stick because it hasn't exactly followed the source material. Now you've got to give it a little bit of leeway because it's got to bring something different to it, and it's got to surprise the existing consumers of that story, because otherwise you're seeing everything that you've already seen. The best example of that, and me and Hog done a Walking Dead special because we love that and we love that zombie genre. That was adapted from a comic book, but they consciously made decisions that could have incited the fans, but for them it worked out really well because they killed off characters that never died in the comics, and they kept characters alive that died early on. So they made conscious decisions. So I think as long as you are loyal to the source material to some degree, there are little adaptations and changes, which I think from the few people that I've seen that have been criticizing some of it, they can't let that go because they want it to be exactly like the game. So if it's totally different to the game, I'd get it 100%. If it's exactly like the game, okay, fair enough. I haven't played the game, so for me, it's all brand new. But for the ones that are already existing in this fan base, all I would say is just allow yourself to be surprised every now and then.
Yeah, that's it. And I was glad in a way that I hadn't played the game because I come to the show with no baggage, no.
Yeah, same.
So I was sitting there, and I was saying to myself, "Well, entertain me now, then. You've blown your trumpet. You've made this show. You've given us all the hype. All right, you're always going to have the moaners, but there's 2 gamers that I've spoken to, my son and my daughter's boyfriend, who, all right, that's not a very they're both in their, say, mid-late 20s, but they both agreed that they loved it. They loved the game and they loved the show. They weren't saying, oh, well, they didn't have that bit from the game in it, because they understand that the game needed adaptation.
Yeah.
It needed adapting and what works on the screen. But I think from what they've said to me, they've been respectful enough of the gamer community to recreate scenes within the story in this first episode. I think it's particularly in the truck at the beginning and the newscast at the beginning as well. 60s.
I mean, who knew you had to respect your existing fan base?
Who knew?
Yeah.
I think they did a stand-up job of it, of the set. I mean, to give us, and they're playing the game. They're playing the game just with that little news item at the beginning, telling us about the fungus. Is it exposition? Well, of course it is, but it's a 2-minute.
That was John Hannah as well. He's a great actor. I'm intrigued to see if we see him again, because he's an awesome actor.
Pre-credits, set in the 60s, everything we need. And everywhere along was storytelling. And come on, Randy, what they were giving us every step of the way was letting us know. I mean, there was even one line of dialogue in this episode that gave us one peek into what's outside of Boston. Outside the walls. They went, oh, there's reavers and whatever it is. They just went, oh, there's this and this out there. And then they moved on. But you're thinking, oh, is there? Oh, what that one sentence of dialogue was saying was, it's not very nice outside the walls.
Yeah.
It might sound basic, but it's in there.
And how good was that setup at the beginning as well?
And we're intrigued. I thought anyway, and that I know we keep boiling it back to Dismal Minus, but they could do with some basics.
Yeah.
Of set.
So Hog, I was talking about that on our podcast quite a bit too when we were doing Willow. So the scene you're talking about, we have a line. We have one simple line, and it hooks us, right? So we like, oh, I want to see that. I want you to go out there and encounter all those dangers, because that sounds fascinating, right? And it is foretelling, and it is, that hook, that mystery grabs us, right? And it does so much. And if this had been Willow, they would have just outright told us lots and lots and lots and lots of stuff, and like we wouldn't care.
Story. Yeah.
Right. So yeah, beautifully done. They do just so much right on this. And one of the things I was most impressed with is the progress into the apocalypse, right? And they do it the same way. They're subtle. So like the first thing we get is one of the kids in the classrooms twitching, I think it was, right? And then we see the old granny doing that thing.
Yeah.
That was so spooky.
And it was out of focus.
Yes.
It's
Behind.
Even so much so, like all that stuff's classic tropes. I don't know if you guys have ever seen Shaun the Dead in the States. All the classic all the classic tropes, like he goes out to get his cornetto, he comes back, and then later on he goes out to get his cornetto again, and everything's going to shit around him. They're all classic tropes, but when it's done so well, like that out of focus shot over the shoulder of his daughter, and the old woman's going,
and the dog looking at the granny on the house. The dog's going like that, and but how nicely was that done? Intelligent.
Yeah.
Storytelling.
I don't know how it was in the game, but I liked the fact that we saw everything up until his daughter went. We saw everything from the daughter's perspective. I don't know if that's what it was like in the game.
That scene was not in the game.
Really? I like that. That was good. That was a nice little touch, just because it attaches you to the daughter. Seeing the world from her perspective through a child's eyes really attached you to her. So when it did happen, you was like, oh shit. And I haven't got a kid, but
you liked her.
I was like, no.
I'm gonna borrow one for a week.
No, I'm all right, man.
They are oblivious. I know that that certain commentators on YouTube have taken the piss out of this show just for the sake of it, just for the hate clicks, I think. Saying that it is Shaun of the Dead, where she doesn't realise that the ambulances and the fire trucks and all that but if you have any interaction with teenage children, and I've had interaction with 2 of my own, then actually they're grown up from teenagers and they're still oblivious. Are they not oblivious? Like you can mock that, like the Shaun of the Dead moment where he just leaves money on the counter, whatever it is in the beginning of the Shaun of the Dead, which is awesome.
Yeah.
But what some people that are trying to nitpick at this show on YouTube, I just don't agree with the fact that one of the things they're aiming at is the daughter not being aware that it's the end of the world. Well, I'm not being funny, but you go to school, get the bus home, and go to the next door neighbours, and they're oblivious anyway. She's got to go there. They've actually set that up where I like that bit between the dad and the daughter, where they're trying to outdo each other.
Yeah, yeah.
Where it's obviously the smelly old couple next door. And he goes, "Oh, you're going to go there after school?"
Yeah.
No, you can go there and do whatever it is. I just loved that. It was a really nice, again, adult writers obviously had some kind of interaction with a daughter or a son or whatever it is, and just got it in there. And the other thing I liked was, what's his name? Pedro's character. He's a grizzly old sod. Like, he's not the most. He's not.
See, some of the complaints I've seen. Some of the complaints I've seen was he wasn't grizzly enough.
I think that's come though. I think we're going to see that.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah,
I think that was just about grizzly enough, because you don't want him.
Yeah.
You don't want him too Galadriel, do you?
Yeah.
You don't really like him. Like, as soon as you see that character, there's nothing, even for a woman or a man, there's nothing you can hang on to. There's nothing you want.
That scene outside the wall told you everything you need to know. Yeah, that told you everything about that character you need to know in terms of how he's going to be moving forwards. He's not,
he does what needs to be done.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he's not going to mess around.
For story set up The Last of Us, I thought he gave us everything. That first episode, I thought he gave us everything.
Yeah,
absolutely.
For a first episode of
Go ahead.
Sorry, for a first episode, the amount of setup. I mean, a lot of the stuff that we've seen recently, the first episode just drags and drags and drags. I know it was nearly an hour and a half, but that first episode gave you everything you want from a first episode. And I will compare it to the first episode of Walking Dead, because that's the only reference I've got in terms of a series that's sort of like deals with sort of zombies. The first episode gives you the world, it gives you the setup, gives you some of the basic rules of that world, and intrigues you enough moving forward. And it gave you everything.
Yeah. And like you say, they were all basic tropes, but you've got to have them in there. We're going to be following the characters, aren't we? We're going to be following Ellie
but there's nothing wrong with basic tropes as long as you do it well.
But World War Z, I think, was the best of the classic setups for me, with the cop on the motorbike smashing on their 4x4 on their pickup, whatever it is, and you hear all the helicopters or airplanes, whatever it is, and they're sat in the traffic, and then it kicks off right from there, like that. But yeah, you've got Walking Dead, you've got Shaun of the Dead, you've got World War Z, and they're the kind of top of the shop. But they mixed it all up enough. And like I say, where I didn't play the game, but I think gamers are. So Lucy is agreeing. Is Lucy agreeing?
She really liked it.
So Randy, what are you thinking so that opening scene where we're in that newsroom in the 60s, in terms of setup, from a writer's perspective, what are you thinking of that scene? Was that done well? Could it have been done better? What are you thinking?
Okay, I actually think that was really good, and I know a lot of the other YouTubers are bagging on that, but let me tell you that. So it reminds me of Dawn of the Dead. If you remember the Dawn of the Dead, it starts the same way with the news thing, right? Yeah. And so what we're kind of seeing is the importance of doom. They tell us with the science what's going to happen. And then a lot of the complaints I've heard from some of the other YouTubers are on the host, who doesn't take it serious, right? And I think that's actually very brilliant. What this says is we have been warned. We have been told what exactly will happen. And society, the world has mocked them. And so there has been no defense. There has been no early attempts to stop this from spreading worldwide. And it has done that because the world has mocked. I mean, they just like, oh, you're a kook. That's not going to happen. So we see through this one guy the reaction of the world to a threat.
Yeah, no, I really like that opening scene.
12 monkeys not start like that as well.
What?
12 monkeys.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that film. Yeah.
And that was really brilliant the way they did that.
Did they not have the news feed kind of going at the beginning of that, like picking out of different channels of news feed, and then you're into it, or was that something else?
No, I think you're right. I mean, there's several science fiction horror shows, movies that have done that, and it's very effective because when you're watching that, you're thinking, okay, a news source, this is authentic. It's not, crazy people. It's science. You know what they're talking about. So and we're also used to bad events being reported on the news. So you combine all of that, and people kind of give it a little more seriousness to what's being said there, and that can they can set off the show as being spooky from the very first.
And as well, the fact that it was John Hannah, because I do love that. I think it's quality. I do think that we're going to see him again.
Yeah, I hope so. He did a great job on that.
32. Wait, no, because it's now 52 years later.
So yeah, see, I'm expecting
we might not see him again.
but I'm expecting some sort of twist where it's a flashback and we reveal that actually he's the one that created that.
For an actor of caliber to be used in just a 2-minute segment at the beginning, I see. Now.
I do think we're going to see him again, and I do think he's got a bigger part to play. Or it could be the other way around, where we have a flashback and he's warning people again. He's warning people of this, and he's seen evidence of it, and no one's listening to him. I do think we're going to have some more of him because he has done quite a bit. He's been around for a long time, and to use him for a 2-minute scene at the beginning, it could be
alive, but basically not very much older. But he's been kept alive by the fungus.
Yeah, that's it. For all we know, he could end up being like patient zero or something like that.
Yeah, no, that's what I mean. But he would be the same age because you wouldn't age if you've got fungus keeping you alive. It's like,
But I think what he implied was that the fungus would evolve on its own if global warming happened, right? Because that's what he says, that if the average temperature of the earth got warmer, then it would have to figure out how to get into living beings. And so I think I don't know if this was like a gain of function type of thing. I think this was a, okay, we're seeing that there's at this point now the earth has gotten warmer, and so the fungus has evolved on its own. And but I would have loved to have seen that it was a gain of function thing gone out of control. That would have been crazy. And I think it definitely would have hit people here really hard. So, but I thought that the tropes and things in this, I don't mind them because this is not, I don't think that this is meant to be quite as epic and taken as quite as seriously as something like Game of Thrones. Now, if you remember the first season of Game of Thrones, they were sort of feeling things out. They were testing the waters. It was relatively low budget for what it became. But after that, it took off. Now it's only going to be one season. There's potential for a second season, but from what I hear, the second game is not nearly as popular as the first.
No, I've heard as well.
Yeah. So I think that they're allowed to rely on some tested and tried tropes because they know this is their one shot and they have to get it right. I would have liked that we didn't see the grandma in the background because I've seen it done so many times. I wanted her to come out of the kitchen and see that the dog is fixated on the grandma and whining a little bit, and that's all we get. The dog knows something is wrong, and the audience knows, oh my gosh, something must have happened while Sarah was in the other room, but that's people don't like that all the time. People don't like to have to figure things out like on their own. They want to see it happen. So it was a crowd pleasing, I think, but it was okay. I mean, I'm going to give it to them.
How good was it when they done the intensity with it as well? When they were going in the car through the town.
That was gold. I loved it.
Spot on. That car going through that town, spot on. Then you look, camera spins round to the back, so you look out the back window, the plane's coming down. There was so much to that. That was done beautifully.
There were only 2 shots that were not inside that cab from the moment Sarah gets in to the moment Sarah gets out. There's only 2 shots that are about a second and a half each in that whole encounter. And one of them shows the wheel of the car, and then the other one shows that they're getting up on a road. And I was like, okay, but yeah, it gives you that trapped in your vehicle feel. You're seeing what the people in the car are seeing out their windshield. Loved it. But yeah, again, that was a vehicle, or I'm saying a vehicle.
And,
that was.
Randy, did your daughter say that if that was a scene from the game? Because that felt like very much like a game in that scene, it's almost like you in the game, you would be driving through that, trying to navigate your way through all that chaos.
She said that was very close to what happened in the game. That the scenes that you were seeing from that, the events that were going on, all the specific ones, a nurse coming out from a hospital and just all of that. She said, yeah, that was how the game was.
Nice. Yeah, really nice.
Yeah, she said that even the choreography of the people in the street when they're going through and seeing people doing things, she's like, some of that was exactly the same as it was in the game, that's a lot of effort put into choreograph that many people.
I love the genre so much, the post-apocalyptic stuff, that even when they all did jump into the pickup and it was at night and they show you it was the POV of out of the windscreen with the big headlights across the street, and that as he turns the wheel and they're turning around, and I was thinking, I know, come on, show me,
Yeah,
they were spot on with it. Sometimes, I know that it's your expectations, and they want to subvert them. Sometimes you just want them fulfilled.
Yes,
I want someone to turn this into a ride.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just want to. Yeah, come on. Oh, here they are, and then they run them over, and they're going to run them over because that's what you would do. You drive your pickup through that street as fast as you could. But I know the time jump, which I thought was really could have been another minefield for the series. I know they did it in the game, so that 20-year time jump, and then how they filled in. So we're now in Boston in the wall thing, and you had the kid turning up, and they're showing you how they take the temperature with a thing on the neck.
Yeah,
it just snapped through.
Yeah,
getting
even the burning of the bodies.
20 years worth of information. I just thought, I don't know about you, Randy, but I thought from a storytelling point of view, from a writer's point of view, that was so succinctly done and so well done.
And hard hitting as well.
Yes.
That they got it all in, but without expedition. There was a bit of walking around. There was a bit of talking.
It wasn't that much.
But it cracked along. Each scene was leading, and suddenly you're finding out that Pedro's a smuggler, and you've got the ration cards.
The ration cards, yeah.
And there's a thing going on. There's a black market. Oh, now here's the Fireflies and all the rest of it. I just thought it was really well done. Might have been coming off a Willow that made me appreciate this maybe too much. But
well, I said that to you, didn't I?
Yeah.
I think someone in this show got a pre-screening of Willow and just like, no, just wait, hold off, just a few weeks. Everyone's going to be so upset.
Come on, guys, this is what we don't do.
Yeah.
I will say that watching it a second time, because I've been editing Randy's our review.
Yeah.
And watching it through a second time, I've noticed things that have bothered me, but it's nothing major. Again, these are little things that are kind of just a preference on my part. Like I would have preferred we didn't see the grandma. I would have preferred that when Tess is captured, remember that first time we see Tess and there's the two young thugs behind her and Robert, and she's talking to him. I didn't understand what the hell was going on there until I had really stopped and listened and figured it out. It could have been a little more clear, you know, that, and I don't know how they would have done that. They maybe show her getting jumped. I don't know. But there are little things like that. And mainly it's in the dialogue not clearly delivering what the situation is. And I was trying to think, okay, are they setting it up so that this becomes more evident later on? And I don't think they were. I think it was maybe just a little bit sloppy on some of the bits of dialogue. But this is, again, is just me nitpicking, because if I just sat back and enjoyed, I would have understood for the most part what's going on. I would have the important stuff. I would have understood that Firefly has been trying to draw Fedra's attention elsewhere so they can gather and take this girl where they're going.
Yeah.
I don't know what was in that message that was handed to Marlene, and then she gave it over to Kit, and Kit saw it and was like, holy crap, whatever you want, we're going to do it. But I don't think that's important to the story. I think what's important to the story is Joel and Ellie. I think that whatever they go through, that's the focal point. Everything else is just adding to their obstacles and the things that are going to come across. But really, this is an emotional, a character-driven story, an emotional and character-driven story, not necessarily a mystery or a thriller or something that we're going to need to understand all of these things that are happening.
Yeah, definitely. And I think the other thing as well is with Ellie, the girl, there was a real danger of having her being really annoying, being almost like, just comparing it because it's Pedro, little baby Yoda to the Mandalorian. It had a real threat. It had a real threat of that, of it's the little thing that you've got to try and save all the time. But the fact when she's chained up, she's swearing, she's going, what's going on? And she's actually showing some intelligence, like she's instantly trying to go for that knife. I thought her performance was great. I don't know how accurate she is to the game, but I thought her performance was really good.
Oh, yeah, I think it was pitched. I think her character was pitched really well. The danger with her character, they did, you know, like they do with so many female characters. Not mentioning any series in particular, but they make them so obnoxious. It doesn't make them strong, but I think she's coming across as a little bit feral. She's obviously wound up. She's chained to the fucking wall. So
yeah, I would say, I think being obnoxious is part of the defense mechanism in that.
Yeah,
I can't see it. Yeah, I just think that's.
And I think they just pitched that. I think they walk that fine line between having her annoying, and I didn't find at the beginning you think, oh yeah, she is, which is expected because she's got the but from that, by the end of this episode, there's a lot more you want to kind of find out about her character.
Oh yeah, absolutely, and we will.
And him. You want to find out about Pedro's 20 years, and you want to find out about her and how she ended up there, and like what's going on with the arm.
Well, yeah, that 20-year time jump, like you said earlier, and like Liz pointed out, I think there's going to be a load of flashbacks. I don't think it's just going to be the odd few. I think we're going to get these little fill-ins as the story moves forward. They're going to be information that we need to know. So
I hope not too many flashbacks.
Not when I say loads. I don't mean it'll just be like minutes. It'll just be here's a few, like that opening scene with the doctors. It was a couple of minutes, done, dusted, move on. I think it'll be set up that sort of way. I don't know. I may be way off. I ain't got a clue what I'm talking about.
No.
I think it's remarkable that they managed to create characters who are young and I think very appealing, because that's something that what I think you were getting at, Hog, is that especially female characters who are depicted as being strong or, you know, independent minded, they come across as obnoxious, and they do. I did not find Sarah obnoxious at all. The person who wrote her understood something very important about depicting a character who can have banter like that and can be independent, and you know she can be like that but still be lovable, and that is a degree of selflessness and humility. She didn't want to celebrate her birthday she wanted to celebrate her father's birthday. I want to do this because that's what families do.
And I do think she stole the show for me.
Yeah, she totally did for me too.
Yeah,
and they're going to need to do that with Ellie. They're going to need to show not just vulnerability, because there's a line where Marlene says something about Riley. Remember, they're talking and she says, "Do you think Riley was a terrorist?" Right? Well, we saw her get kind of withdrawn from that, and we saw there's something about this character Riley that is a sensitive point for her. That's not enough. I don't think that just giving somebody a difficult past is enough to make them sympathetic. They have to be sympathetic in the present as well. Just being hurt isn't enough. So I'm thinking that they're going to need to turn Ellie into a selfless person in some way, or give her some humility in some way, because that's what makes these characters appealing.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think they will. I think they have shown us enough. Even with that scene in the corridor where she gets the knife and it's out of her hands, it's on the floor and he's got his foot on it, and she's still there trying to get it. She's got a strength there.
She's ready to go, yeah.
She's got survival instincts.
It's funny you mentioned that she seems feral. I used to work with kids who came from usually foster care or were living with a grandparent or something. And yeah, everything about her was ringing. She's a foster kid. She's an orphan. And then what do you know? She is an orphan. I was like, oh, maybe this makes sense.
I think it was just a well-pitched,
yeah,
for a change, just a well-pitched character where you didn't, your instant reaction was when she was swearing and pulling on the chains and all that, but it's to be expected. It wasn't just her.
As well, the important thing is,
and I will say, it's because it is the pinnacle of what we're talking about. It is the Galadriel.
It's the episode, but it's the episode, but it's the episode one. That's the most important thing here. Is it's the episode one. This is what she's like now. We know that she's going to become more hopefully become more selfless. You can already see this is her starting point. The whole good point of a good series is we see the character's arc. We know that Joel is going to probably become more paternal towards her, and we know that she's going to become more selfless and look up to him as more of that father she never had. And that is the arc and the journey that these characters are going to go on. So this is their starting point. So hopefully we start to see their characters develop and we get that good arc from them. But it's already set up in an arc.
Do we know how many episodes there are?
No.
9.
Okay, nice.
9.
Is there?
9.
Nice.
That'd be good.
Nice.
From what I hear, the 9 episodes covers the entire first game as well.
Good.
So this is
that's good.
Let's just keep our fingers crossed, guys. I don't know about you, but on that one, I don't know if anyone's got anything else to add on that, but I really liked it. I really thought that was a superb.
It's such a strong start. I can't see it going wrong. Again, it's got such a strong start. I mean, they'd literally just have to stop.
I hope not. And I think
just the last thing to add from me,
Chernobyl. I think hopefully in his hands. If you've ever seen that Chernobyl series, and I still maintain that is one of the best horrors I've ever seen. That's one of the best horror series I've ever seen, or film. In his hands, I'm hoping that he's going to steer it through all this minefield of computer game adaptation and keeping everyone happy, because it is a minefield.
Just last thing from me is, again, never played the games. In terms of the casting of Ellie and Joel, Hog, your Luke and that, and Randy, your daughter, are they happy with the casting choices? Is it loyal to what the game was, or is it completely off mark?
Lucy's very happy with it, especially with Pascal. She thinks he's going to be an excellent representation of that character. Oh, sorry. What's the name of that character?
Joel.
Yeah, Joel. She thinks he's going to be an excellent Joel, and she's very happy with the other one as well.
Yeah, no, same. And the idiots that are moaning about a race swapped daughter, and it's got no bearing on anything whatsoever.
No.
You think they're idiots? Did you just happen to see the top Google search the following day?
No.
Will cordyceps infect humans? It was the top Google search the following day. It was like, oh my God. That was funny.
I know that
That was funny.
all my local supermarkets were selling out of mushrooms.
Right, because you know what? We need to eat them before they can eat
Yeah,
us.
before they get us. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
You need to find that immunity.
Battle of the mushrooms now.
That's it.
Take them all out.
So that's quite a large consensus, I think, on the love.
Oh, it was great. Yeah, it was great. It's great. I think we're on the same page.
Off to a good start. So, all right, from heavy genre to not so heavy genre. Well, Kaleidoscope, which we've said into swapping. I'll kick this one off. The format intrigued me. Space Lizard, I had never even heard of it. Space Lizard said to me, "You heard about Kaleidoscope? I reckon you can watch it in any order." Blah blah. And I thought, well, that, you know, it sounds like a challenge.
Yeah.
So
challenge.
I'm up for that. As long as you watch black first and white last. Other than that,
yeah.
So I just want to say quickly that I heard from a friend, and I've checked it out, and I've checked a few other people's Netflix accounts. Most Netflix accounts, obviously there's going to be some duplicates, but it actually goes on to your Netflix in a different order. So my Netflix will be different to your Netflix, different to your Netflix, different to hog's Netflix. So we all would have watched it in a slightly different order.
Yeah.
Well,
which I love. I love that.
Apart from the twist at the end, was my only little niggle with it. Didn't spoil it.
Why? I don't understand. Why was that?
Right, the twist at the end, the fact that the daughter had done them all over.
I mean, I'm not being horrible. Did you not see that coming?
What, the daughter? No.
That stood out a mile to me.
No, the daughter's obviously part of it because they say that right at the beginning.
No, but it stood out a mile that she was ripping them all off.
No.
I don't know why I got that, but
I think you're one of them that when they watched The Sixth Sense, you went, "Oh yeah, I saw that one coming as well."
I thought that she was going to be doing it for her father.
Yeah.
No, I thought that she was part of his deal.
I thought when they was pulling the pallet of all the stuff in that episode from the middle floor, the post office bit in the middle, I thought it was going to be him that had set it up to do that heist for her.
Yeah,
with her.
I thought that was like a side. I thought that would be like a side job. So, yeah.
The ending.
I'm not saying I knew she was doing it for the twins. I'm saying I'm not saying I knew she was doing it for the twins, but I just got early on that she was actually like she was basically ripping them off. How it was going to play out long term, I didn't know, but I just got it quite early on that she was having them over.
It would have been nice I think, to reveal with the arc of Leo the fact that he's been estranged from his daughter for so long. I thought it would have been nice for them to actually, the twist being, actually he's doing all this, but actually he doesn't care about anyone else. It's going to be just those two. And I thought it'd be those two that would be in on it, and then they go off together. I thought that would have been a nice little arc. I mean, overall, I thoroughly enjoyed it.
It was fantastic. Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. It was intelligent.
I got it early on. I'm saying I got it early on. Obviously, I watched it in a different order. So
yeah, I mean,
if I watched it in the same order of one of you guys, I may not have got it early on. But
my only thing is, did anyone? So I watched Pink, which was the episode set 6 months after the heist, right before watching White. For me, everyone was saying White should have been the last episode, and I think I mentioned this to Hog in the middle of the week. For me, the twist, I was intrigued by what was happening in the heist. I knew there was going to be a twist. I knew someone was going to betray someone.
Yeah.
But I felt like the episode Pink, which was set 6 months after, gave too much away. For example, we see that she is in that lovely little mansion when he calls her. Straight away, you know that she's got the money. Yeah. So there was no twist for me in White. I would have liked it if they had said, right, watch it in whatever order you fucking want, but White then Pink are the last two you have to watch.
Hmm.
That's how I would have preferred to watch it, because there is it watching the 6 months after, you know where everyone is. So in your head, you can fill in the blanks. And if you're paying attention to it, there is no twist for you in White. So there's no payoff with that final episode. So for me, I would have much rathered White than Pink.
Yeah, see, so I got Pink as my second episode.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, so that's why when I say I got it early on, Pink was my second episode. So,
yeah, so you were watching everything that she was doing, knowing how is she going to get this money?
There we go.
Yeah. Okay.
So that just made sense to me in that order.
From a writing point of view, storytelling point of view, I do think they pulled it off.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what they did was they proved something that is interesting about the mystery. So when you write the mystery, what you can do is you can start with your ending and then have clues that lead up to it.
Mm-hmm.
Take those clues, scramble them up, and have them revealed in any order that you want. That is what this show did. It created a mystery, and it had a bunch of information that needed to come out so that we would understand why we get to the result at the end. But you can get that information in any order that you want.
Yeah.
So I thought it was an experiment. It was a let's. It's always funny when like Gertrude Stein wrote "A rose is a rose is a rose is a rose," you know, and the whole essay that she wrote is proof that the topic she's making that essay about is real. Like, so you get to the end of the essay and you realize that the word rose means something different to you than it did the first time she says the word rose. So this was one of those instances where the piece itself is an example of what they're doing at work.
Yeah.
This was an example of a mystery can be solved with the clues given to you in any order that you want, and that's what they did. I thought it was fun.
Yeah. And
that's good. That worked.
And people, the detractors, because I must admit, the last couple of weeks, when I've been looking online, all I'm getting for the stuff that I'm thinking, hang on a minute, this is actually all right. All I'm getting is people detracting from it. And the people that are detracting from it basically saying it's an experiment, it's a goofy gimmick for a badly written show. I totally disagree. I think it's a good, it's an interesting gimmick. Okay. If it was a set order, I don't think it would add much more to it, to be honest. I think it was a good written story that had an interesting gimmick to it that intrigued me. And from the get-go, from the first episode I watched, which was Yellow, all the way through, I thoroughly enjoyed every second of it. Apart from, I would have rather watched White instead of Pink. That's the only thing I can actually say. I would have rather watched White than Pink instead of Pink than White. That's the only thing I can say.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head, is that you could have watched this in chronological order or out of order, and it didn't take anything away from it.
It would have been a good show. Yeah.
And that is down to the right. That's what I mean.
Yeah.
I think
and I just want to do a little shout out for Giancarlo Esposito. Yeah. What a great actor. He brings a gravitas to that role. And he does with everything he does, with every role he's done, to be fair. He's just got that persona. He's almost like the TV Morgan Freeman. He's just got that persona to him. Like he's quality. He's absolute quality. I could listen to Morgan Freeman needs to do a podcast. So does that bloke. But I'll just listen to him and fall asleep. That it's just something that brings something to that role.
Yeah.
And yeah, I was hooked by him the whole way through.
Did anyone watch Better Call Saul?
No, I haven't. I must admit, I have not watched that.
I loved it.
Yeah, so did I. He's brilliant in that. And
yeah, I actually liked it better than Breaking Bad, only because
I did in the end. After the first series, I think I was expecting more Breaking Bad, and I was struggling to get on with it. Better Call Saul. But once you just have to say to yourself, no, this isn't Breaking Bad, this is completely different. And it got better and better and better. And it literally is that prequel leading right up to when that last series with the two Breaking Bad characters in it. But only tiny bits. They didn't have an whole episode, did they? It's gorgeous.
And they couldn't make it Breaking Bad because this is a completely different type of story.
Yeah.
This is about a man, good-natured, getting to the point where he's going to use his powers for not necessarily good things.
No,
Yeah.
naughty boy. But and how beautiful, just quickly, because this is really, we really are off the tracks now. But just quickly, before we get back on the tracks, how beautiful was that scene in the prison cell in that final episode where she's got the cigarette and they're in the, and they've got the light coming through the window of the cell, and everything is coming into focus in that one scene. They've done everything, and it's rambled on for 5 years. I just thought it was a beautiful thing. That they writers and directors at the top of their game. That.
Yeah. I think, are you talking about the cinematography itself really nailed it for you, just the whole thing?
Everything about that scene, cinematography, setup, dialogue, leading up to it, the whole 5 series leading up to that one scene where he's giving it all up for her.
Yeah.
Spoilers. Anyway, back on track.
Yes.
Bob.
Kaleidoscope,
Bob. Dry Courtney.
Oh, fuck yeah. That's the best thing I've seen him do.
I haven't seen him do much, though.
He was an arsehole, wasn't he? But I loved him. I thought it was quality.
Anything he's ever turned up in, him and Sam Worthington from Avatar 2, they're actors that are there. And
well, he's done Suicide Squad, hasn't he? And he done,
that's the first time I've ever seen him in anything with Suicide.
And he done Spartacus back in the day as well.
And I have a career. But for me, Dry Courtney in this, particularly that episode on the beach and all the rest of it, I thought,
yeah,
where he's getting there.
I really liked his missus as well. I can't remember what her name was. The one that was in between Bob and Stan. I really liked her as well. The one that liked explosives.
Yeah, good character.
Yeah, I liked her.
But they were all good characters. I mean, there wasn't one bad character in that show.
Even the FBI agent that was trying to hunt him, that had the substance abuse issues, the FBI woman that was after him, I thought she had a nice little arc as well.
Yeah.
I thought
really nice.
It was intriguing enough that I literally was getting to the end of an episode thinking, oh yeah, come on.
Do I go to bed or do I watch another one?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. How refreshing to get a good series, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm not usually into heist movies or shows at all. Somebody in our comments on our channel was saying, what do you think of Kaleidoscope? And I was just sifting through Netflix to put background noise on. I was like, oh, this is that show that guy mentioned. And I'll tell you what, it sucked me in right away. I saw the episode where they break out of the Shawshank Redemption episode. I saw that one first.
Yeah.
And I loved it.
Wow, that for me was right. It was towards the end. So I had the So I had
that was my first episode.
No, so I had my first episode was Yellow, which was 7 weeks before the heist, and I can't remember the order of all of them. But I had the I had the 25 years earlier, the 6 hours the morning after the heist, then the breaking out the prison bit, then the 6 months after, then it went to the white. So for me, it was going years backwards and forwards each time.
You know what I think
really
is
interesting
is watching this out of order and it being good. Watch it in order, and I think you will see that the characters are so consistent. They'll hit their moment where there's a character change, and from that point forward in chronological order, they are changed. So you see it out of order, you get to see like, why is this person like this now? Yeah. And and that's the mystery. I wonder what happened, and then 3 episodes later, you find out that chunk was missing.
Creatively,
that would be interesting actually to watch that in order. That would be very interesting.
It wouldn't. Well,
word of warning though. I did that years ago with Pulp Fiction and re-edited it and put it in order, and it wasn't as good.
No.
Oh really?
But that was Pulp Fiction. That was
the most boring thing to do. Would be to watch that Kaleidoscope in order.
Well, I just meant to watch it to see how the writing is consistent. That if it's watched in chronological order, everything makes perfect sense. I think that's actually the only way it could have worked.
Yeah, I don't think it'd lose anything. I don't think it. I can't see it.
What's your thing, Tayters? You don't really do high stuff, do you?
What's that?
Well, no. I mean, I'm high stuff. I can take it or leave it. It was, like I said, I mean, I commented on your review, Hog. It was like, for me, straight away, it was Ocean's 11 meets Pulp Fiction. That's exactly what I got. But
Yeah.
that was my first impression. Obviously, I still love it. I think it was fantastic. Yes, it had the little, the heist music. It was typical heist music. It was pretty good, though. I enjoyed it.
I liked it.
Yeah, that's it. It made me grin.
And I don't normally like popular music put over, like I said in my review.
You've got a little thing about that, haven't you?
I have. Like, it's at the end of every episode of certain series where they go,
certain series.
Yeah, yes, certain series.
Certain series, yeah.
We've got
Willow 90210.
So here is Adele. And you think, all right, well, we've watched this fucking thing for an hour. We either feel sad or not. Like, don't give me a pop song over it. I don't need that. If you've done your job, I'm crying already. And don't give me a pop song. Give me a bit of normal, just me. I don't know why it is, it gets under my skin. But with this, somehow with Kaleidoscope, particularly the episode that was set back 25 years and their selection of music, I don't know, I just thought it was spot on. But I think it was relaxing and letting it, just enjoying it for what it is, not taking it too serious, because we can all take things far too seriously. But with this, and I think we're all the same as everyone. A heist is a heist. Once you've seen Ocean's 11 or
Italian Job,
example of a heist, you know, the scene, the payoff, and the twist.
Italian Job.
Yeah. It's a very, there's not a lot you can do within, if you can call it a genre. Can we call a heist film?
I don't know.
A heist genre. Be fair though, Fast and Furious jumped into that a little bit when they started going on their crazy, wacky journey of, okay, these are street racers now, and they're going into more action-packed stuff. They started off with doing heists.
Yeah, they did one in Brazil. Yeah.
But what I find really intriguing, and I don't know what Randy thinks about this from his professional point of view, is the fact that this series was probably filmed in chronological order as much as they could do it. It was written, like, at what point did they cut this all up like sushi? But it had to make sense.
I think it was an experiment that was planned from the very beginning, because otherwise you're going to trip yourself up.
Yeah, but it had to be filmed in chronological, like we're all saying, we're all agreeing that if you watch this in chronological, it all makes sense, the character arcs and all the rest of it.
Yeah, so
you can't just do that and cut it up and expect it all to work.
So what you're saying is they filmed it, they run it in chronological order, then they broke it up into parts.
Yeah, but
it had to be filmed. It had to be written in chronological order.
Yes, that's it.
They couldn't have written this episode by episode and done it out of order. It would have to have been done in order. Now, filming, I know, Hog, you've done some film work before, but we would film out of order if we had to. Yes. But our actors had to be so familiar with the script that they understood where we were and what mindset they're supposed to be in. So, I mean, I think Lord of the Rings was filmed a lot out of order. They had to. They had to, they're not going to fly a helicopter across the country for a single scene. They're going to we're going to film everything we need to here.
Yeah.
The chapters of this is where I don't know what Randy thought about all this, was that you can't just, so what was it? 8 or 9 episodes, whatever it is. So, okay, you write it in chronological order. You write a story in chronological order and you film it as near as you can, damn it. You can't just throw all that up in the air. That has to be created. That has to be designed to work. Like, before you put pen to paper, I don't know what you think, Randy, but before you put, as you're going along, the big risk that they take is not being intriguing enough in each chapter. For me, there was no filler episode.
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
See what I mean? Even though it's all filmed chronological and they jumbled it all up, but all those puzzle pieces needed to fit together There wasn't a blank episode.
Yeah, if it had been edited differently, you might have had one episode that was a little bit boring. Yeah,
but I think we can't underestimate how much attention to detail and storytelling ability they had. I think. I don't know about you, Randy, with Kaleidoscope. What you thought?
Well, if I can get a word in, I'll tell you what I think.
I keep trying to ask you, mate. I keep trying to ask you.
I'm going to disagree with quite a bit of what you said. So I personally could write that out of order. And in fact, I would probably want to write that out of order. And where you were going, Hog, was, I would have to have an idea ahead of time. I would probably have a loose outline for chronologically how it might turn out, right? Just to give me an idea where I want to go. And I have to firmly understand that what we're trying to do is kind of an experimental form of storytelling, so that you can interexchange everything, right? But I'm going to write episode by episode, and maybe it's even advantageous to write them out of order to get the maximum impact. So in order to do that, you need to understand the basics of writing, which is beginning, middle, end, and develop it. And you're like, okay, this is good. I want to leave this, and we can explore it later. And I can go back and write an earlier chronological chapter or scene or episode and really explore that and do the same thing. In fact, it might even be best to write it backwards, the whole thing, chronologically backwards.
Right, the ending.
Right. Here's the ending. How did I get here?
How did we get there?
Yeah.
Right. How did we get here? What kind of things would have been really cool to show coming up to this point? And definitely, maybe that's how they did it. They wrote it backwards and explored all those questions. And I mean, that would be an interesting way to write it. And I think I could do that. I would definitely see the key points and where I would want to leave off and everything. And that would help expand the story and the beginnings and tell me really what I needed to put at the beginning. And for a lot of writers, sometimes that is how the process works, right? Sometimes a writer has an idea and they know how it's going to end. And then they ask themselves questions and they walk it backward. Okay, so this is how I want it to end. How do I make that happen? And then how do I launch it all? How do I start it all to get the whole ball rolling in the direction that I want it to go? So that's my thought.
And that's really so true as well. I mean, I've done that before. I've come up with an idea or an ending, and then I've worked my way back from that to try and get to where I want to be. And it's definitely a very valid point. But in terms of how you viewed it, Randy, what sort of order did you watch it in? Did you think any of the orders it would have been best to see certain things later on?
Unfortunately, I have not seen the show, so I don't know.
Okay.
I think another alternative way to have written this is to have said, okay, I want each one of these characters to have a growth and a journey of some kind. And you figure around the same number of beats for each one of these characters, a leap forward in their growth or an event that changes them in some way or changes their circumstances in some way, and say, okay, for this guy, we've got 8 points throughout his timeline from 25 years ago to how far set in the future was the last one? Was Pink? It was
6 months.
6 months. Okay. So you figured you have 8 or 9 points that are important for each one of these characters. Then what you do is you say, okay, I've got to make the point for this character happen at this point 1 to happen around the same time as the first point for other people too. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And then that's how they get grouped together like that. But yeah, I do think that Randy's right, that there's an advantage to writing it out of order, because then you are so hyper focused on that one episode and making sure that it on its own is its own story, that it has a beginning, it has a middle, has an end, and it's everything you can jam pack into that one episode to keep it engaging and interesting. I think the advantage of that, of writing out of order, is that it helps you focus on that.
And that's definitely, I think that's definitely the thing that I mean,
I think technically that takes some doing, especially when you turn it into a TV show. And an early episode where I think it was after the heist, with like the order I watched it in, and then there's someone floating in the pond of the wasp. But that has to be written into the screenplay, that one of the characters. So if you're not writing it in chronological order and you're writing that episode, well, at some point you need to know that the character that ends up getting shot, like his security, at some point you're not writing it chronologically. And this is where I think it was really clever, where they'd spent a lot of time on this. He's floating in the pond, how we see him, because he gets knocked on the head by the daughter with the extinguisher. But how can you write that into that episode without knowing that
he's going to be gone in the next one?
And the blah, blah, blah. You know, it's like that catch-22. I know what you're getting at, Amber, but I just think whatever lines, whatever threads, whatever storyline threads that they were thinking of, I think the threads had to be chronological.
I think so too.
And I'm going to disagree. All right. So maybe I'm telling that story. I go beginning, middle, end, and then I go like, and what you want at the end is a twist, right? You always want a twist. And you could be just writing that and you're like, what would be a great twist? Oh, we have a body in the pond. That's a great twist. How do I put them there?
Yeah, I kind of agree with both Hog and Randy, because again, just going from my own little experience that I've done with writing, you guys know, Hog and Tayters, I like to write things out of order. My scripts are all over the place. But I go with normally I come up with an ending, but then it's normally, again, like Randy's saying, how did they get there? But then I'll meticulously plan before I actually write something. So I'll go, this is my ending. How did that get there? Put that person there, put that there, make that happen. But I'll plan and plan and plan so everything flows. Almost I've got a scene breakdown before I actually get to anything and actually putting pen to paper. I've got notes upon notes of notes. So I think potentially it's kind of what you're both saying. Hog, you're saying chronological. Randy, you're saying writing things out of order and let things sort of, that's a good twist, put that in. How did that person get there? I think maybe it might have been a blend of the two, and that's why it's been so clever.
Yeah, that is actually what I'm saying. I'm saying you couldn't do either or. I don't think you could do it in chronological and make it work episodically. I don't think if you've done it chronologically.
This is what drafts are for. This is why you don't have a single draft. You write it, and then you go back and rewrite it. Yeah.
That's what I liked about the mix of it. Where what Randy is saying, you can write that episode that tells you that piece of the puzzle. Is that what that's what Randy, that's what you're saying, is like, right, episode 2, because that will make sense there, and I'm going to go 24 years earlier to explain the relationship between these two characters. But within that, that's all right doing that, but that's going to be really sporadic and random unless you've already thought about, at least 2 or 3 threads through it. And I think the threads for this one was Ava and what was his name in the head guy?
Leo.
Yeah, Ava, and that was their relationship, was a thread through it, and then the daughter. Those threads that the daughter's thread wouldn't start until the second episode if you're writing it in chronological order, and etc. etc. But I just thought creatively, I don't know, I was impressed.
That was great. It was.
Yeah.
Or not, I was impressed with the little twist at the end, which I thought could have been tweaked. It didn't spoil it for me, but I think technically, I was really impressed.
Do we think there's going to be more?
I think there would be a different one entirely, where it's a new cast and a new heist or a new thing.
You have to be.
And we're not doing it again.
With the same premise of you can watch it in.
I think we'll get that. I think that'll be a model for a little while. I think you'll end up getting several people doing that. Yeah.
I'd like to see that format, but not in a heist film. Do it for a genre.
Yeah.
I would like to see it for a almost like a murder mystery.
Yeah. Those are big right now. The murder mysteries are big.
Yeah, I'd like to see it for maybe like a murder mystery, or even maybe a, not necessarily a heist, but some sort of crime drama, something along those lines, or even a horror. Even a horror.
I'd like
That'd
to
be quite good.
that used within a fantasy story where there is this.
Go on, here we go. Go on.
No, you knew. We don't go there. Oh, and so
Awesome.
I think Randy. So you haven't seen it. I was going to say. I was going to try and look for a consensus again, where I'm loving most of the stuff we talked about tonight.
Having not seen it, I'm going to give it a consensus, and I'll tell you why. So the idea of being able to watch those in any order and still being able to enjoy it, that takes a lot of brain power. It takes a lot of talent on the writing side. So I'm going to expect that this is someone who knows how to write, or a team of people who knows how to write, and it's going to be enjoyable, because you can't have a B team of writers come in and attempt this kind of a project. This is someone who has to really know the craft. So I'm going to agree with you guys. It's good. And I haven't seen it, but knowing that it works and how difficult it would be to do this, unless you really know what you're doing. Yeah, I'm sure it's good.
Technically, they must have poured over it for ages to make that.
Definitely.
Well, again, going back to stuff that we've done, and I know I spoke about it last time, but our creator, me and Liz went through this when we were trying to arrange our timeline stuff, because we had some time jumps going on, and oh my god, what a pain. It's like, and we're not experts, and Liz is 10 times better than me, and I can barely write, but it was really hard.
You say we.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I just come up with the ideas. You put pen to paper.
All right, girls. Don't start arguing over the rights yet. You haven't sold them to Hollywood.
No, we just need someone with pretty deep pockets. Someone floating around with 600 million in their pocket. Just let us know.
So from the sublime to the ridiculous.
Okay, this is off topic, but since you're talking about projects, I don't think you need to wait for someone with that much money in their pockets. This is an age where the small creator has access to tools that makes it very much in the realm of possibility. I mean, so I've got a project right now, and I don't want to name names because we haven't written the contract, but I already have voice work lined up from a couple of people that are very recognizable in the sci-fi film industry. Okay.
Nice.
Oh, okay. All right.
Very nice. Very nice.
Knows who they are, right? Or at least one of them, right? So
I won't mention them, though.
All right, please, because we haven't signed the contract.
I'll mime it.
Okay. They said they like the project and they want to move forward with it. So and I'm not anyone. I definitely don't have 600 million in my pocket, right? So these are things.
Actually, Randy, did you say you haven't got?
I don't. Am I off the hogCAST now?
Yeah. I don't know how to. Hold on. Just clicking on your screen now and delete. I'm only joking.
So I'm just saying that, this is an age, and I see this especially in the publishing industry, the book industry, right? So right now, there's still that push to go traditional. And it used to, 10 years ago, that was the way to go. If you could get picked up traditionally, meaning someone else, a publisher picks you up and they spend all the money to have your book come out, that validated that you were a good writer, right? That could set your career moving. But things are moving away from that. And with all the tools that we have available now, there is no reason why you can't work on a project and push it forward.
Thank you.
That's good advice. Thank you.
Yeah,
I would suggest, because I've worked in the film industry, and I would suggest that you take a part of what you have. Like, let's say you make a short story, very short story about one of the side characters or something. Produce a short, get some funding going, produce a short, do your absolute best, and then use that for your marketing when you want to fund a bigger project, or you want to get the attention of people who might be interested in helping you produce a bigger project. That is, I mean, I got to say, at least half of the films that I've worked on started out exactly like that. And sometimes they were able to raise enough to go forward and do something. Sometimes they weren't. But the ones who made it, you know, some of them get lots of money. Some of them get huge amounts of money, where they're able to fly people across the country for, you know, we just want them here for, you know, 2 days to shoot with us. I mean, so yeah, it's doing that is a way for you to prove that you've got something good and you have the talent to make something of it. And then if somebody sees that and says, all right, all he needs is money, I'm willing to, you know, figure this out and help them get there.
Nice. Thank you.
Definitely.
Anyway, I'm going to run to the bathroom. So you guys keep
go. Get your donuts.
Thank you for sharing that.
I didn't get any donuts yet.
Let's all be really quiet. Let's all be really quiet. We'll probably hear her in a minute.
Oh, you won't hear me.
Oh, you can hear us though. Yeah, we can hear. We're listening.
Awesome.
But
sorry about that. I didn't mean to segue that off too far. It's
no, that's all right. But so the story, Randy, the story that Space Lizard and Tayters are talking about was suggested as a graphic novel.
Yes.
Well, that's odd, because that's what I'm doing. I'm doing a graphic novel. Do you mind if I plug it?
No, just
do it,
mate, because you know that's
okay.
Crack on.
Look around me, and
Okay.
quite an interesting subject, I find.
So I have a promo video. I have the YouTube site that I'll be using and everything, and it's Kicks Comics. So like sidekicks, Kicks Comics. If you go check YouTube, there's not much there. What I have is a promo video, and really the reason we have that there right now is to get acting talent, any interested party. So it's not like I have that running and it's a functional site where people are going to go and they're going to be highly entertained with everything that I have, because I don't have the content there. What that is you can see what I'm working on. So this is, there'll be a short video, see the art for the graphic novels. You'll hear kind of the basic storyline, the concept, and that is what we're pulling in, the voice talent. They get sent over there, they take a look at it, and they're like, ooh, okay, that's kind of interesting. I like that. So don't be too, anyone who's listening to us and go over there and like, Randy, there's hardly anything there. Yeah, I know. But did it interest you? Did it hook you?
Yeah.
Do you think that that's going to be a good project coming out? And I'm going to tell you, it's going to be a great project coming out. So
send me the link. Just send me the link, Randy, and then I can put it on this.
Okay, I'll do that later. All right.
Perfect.
And then at least we can. I'll have a link to click on as well.
Yeah, we'll have a look.
Yeah.
As well as
if Phil and a Space Lizard want, cooperation is so great. I mean, one of the things I've learned is networking. So I'm moving forward. You guys, we could probably work together on something in some way. I mean, that's how things work. You make friends.
That'd be good.
That'd be nice. Yeah.
Right? We make friends, and I'm so glad I've made friends with you guys. And then that we help each other, and that's a good thing.
Yes, definitely. Definitely.
That'd be good. As long as we're not going to try and do Willow season 2.
No. We'll leave that. We'll leave that to the experts.
It's a horror graphic novel, I think.
Got one of those.
Sorry?
If it's horror and it's a graphic novel, I think Willow too. A bit like, see, I've got it in for all those characters now, the same as with the Ewoks. See, I'm hating.
Yeah. They've scarred you.
Yeah.
I'll be honest that I would love them to give me the license and let me do a Willow graphic novel as a sequel, not based on redoing the first. I would love to do that. And I guarantee you I can give a really excellent story that people are going to love. That the original IP, all the fans of the IP, they're going to like, that is true to the IP and it moves. And they'll make sure it works.
Great. We want to see a graphic novel.
Here we go.
We pitched it before, Randy. It was Predator versus Ewoks.
It was
Oh,
what?
nice.
Predator? Predator versus Ewoks?
Yeah, there we
I
go.
like
Yeah,
that.
yeah. We want
Yeah.
Predators on Endor.
So if you haven't noticed, Hog's got a real distaste for Ewoks. So we like to mention them and bring them up as much as possible.
In every single interaction we ever had. Actually.
Yeah, and what was really funny was when we first brought it up in one of the first hogcasts. In one of the first hogcasts when we first brought it up, when you Googled Hog, the top related search was Ewoks.
Okay, I actually think that idea, Predator versus Ewoks, is brilliant.
Exactly.
We do.
Well, if they can beat the Empire, they can beat the Predators, can't they?
Yeah, but you don't want them to.
Anyway, what a nice segue from whatever we were talking about to
Nonsense. Yeah.
Has anyone watched Bad Batch?
Yes.
Yep.
I didn't watch it, but I've been doing some research on it, so I know what it is. And my brother-in-law came in and talked to me about it too.
And what did he say?
So he really enjoys it. Says people who are enjoying the animated series, the extension of the show, or the extension of the
Clone Wars.
After the first 3 movies, the 4, 5, and 6. Oh yeah, and there was 1, 2, and 3. That this was really tapping back into at least the mood of those, especially those first 3 movies. For him, the fans love it. The fans really enjoy it. And I said, is Filoni involved in this? And he said, yes, it is his baby. This is his deal. He's introducing characters that people enjoy. He's introducing lore that fits into the movies. And I think that was a big problem people had with the Rey.
Yeah, the prequel. Yeah, the prequel.
Yeah, is that
Sequel,
they destroyed some of the.
Sequel.
Yeah, they really messed up with not sticking to what was canon, and that ended up hurting them. But the Bad Batch seems to be trying to knit everything together and make it work somehow, which I gotta appreciate how difficult that is. But if he's got good enough characters and people are interested in what's happening, then I mean, geez, go for it. I think people are excited about it. So,
Phil.
Go on, you, because you're the one that has the problem.
Come on, Tayters, this is your area.
I think we need to go.
Exactly what Amber just said.
Yeah, I think we need to go Tayters first because it's his area.
I honestly, exactly what Amber just said. I've got nothing more to add. It is good. It is really good.
No, but is series 2 better than series? Because series 1. Go on.
No, you didn't like series 1.
No, I didn't like.
You didn't like the first 5 minutes of series 1.
2 minutes of episode.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Why didn't you like it?
Because
he's old and miserable.
Clearly aimed at children.
Clearly made for children?
Yeah, just aimed at children, not family friendly, not like a Pixar movie, which I've taken my children as they've been growing up to a Pixar movie. Adults are entertained, kids are entertained, but it was never aimed at kids.
But Star Wars was aimed at kids.
Stuff.
I disagree on that.
What do you disagree? How can you disagree? The bloke that wrote it said he was aiming it at kids.
But
there's always a child in it.
Yeah, but the difference is that, so again, it goes with the same first 10 years of Marvel. Doesn't matter how old you are, you can enjoy those movies. Star Wars was like that.
They never put a child.
No, Star Wars was like that. Star Wars was like that. You can aim it. You can aim it at everyone. If you do it right, the original trilogy and the prequels to a degree, you can aim at everyone. When you go into the sequels, that was just a mess. Then you've got Rogue One, which was more of an adult film, but it was but it was awesome. Then you go, when you say you're going to do animated Star Wars, instantly you think the sort of preconception is that you think it's going to be aimed at children. Now, Clone Wars, I watched all of that, and there was, out of all the episodes that there were, season 7 was great, but out of all the episodes there were, you could have condensed those first 6 seasons down to probably about 3 seasons. You could literally half it with what was actually relevant to the story instead of the side quests on the droids and all that. I get they've got to cater for everyone, but if you do an intelligent story all the way through, you can cater it to everyone. You don't need to have that episode's aimed at children. That's going to be a bit more of an adult episode, etc. With Bad Batch, the first episode, that put me off. Same as Hog, it put me off. And this is something that you'll learn, Amber and Randy. When it comes to Star Wars, Tayters is one end, Hog's the other end, I'm in the middle. Right? So
that first episode of season 1.
We're all
that first episode of season 1 introduced a character from Star Wars Rebels. It gives you a tiny little backstory into a character that you had got to know through another animated season, Star Wars Rebels, and everyone loved the character. So there was just that little bit. There he is. Okay, he's snowboarding down a mountain.
It wasn't that annoyed me.
The character.
So that annoyed Hog, and Hog turned off. I carried on, and it was the Omega character that annoyed me, that wound me up, because again, it's like Hog says, it's another. What is it? Why we have to put a child into this to make it applicable to children? And it did become a bit samey in season 1 of she's going to do something, they're going to have to save her again and again and again and again. Whereas when it's just
the bestest ever,
when it's just the Bad Batch, it's awesome. But when it's always every episode is going to be set up with her making a mistake or her doing something, and it's not just because it's her or anything like that, it's just the child being ignorant and naive to the world. But
you know who she is, didn't you?
Not really. I'm still not getting it at the moment.
Okay.
But
and that's
season 2, I will say
we should all know who she is.
But saying that,
okay.
So season 1,
every other thing in the whole wide world.
So season 1, okay. Season 1 was average. I liked the end of season 1 with the return to Kamino. The return to Kamino at the end of season 1 was really nice. I liked how they did that. Season 2 has definitely gone up a notch. I definitely think season 2, I've watched the first 4 episodes. I think that's all that's been released so far is the first 4 episodes. Season 2 has definitely gone up a notch, and I've thoroughly enjoyed each episode so far because she's not as annoying.
Well, I mean, she's growing, but she's the flip side of a character that we already know. And you love the character, apart from the TV series they made, which was really bad.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah. Well, how many clones were unaltered and not aged? Only one that we knew of. Now we know 2.
And I think it is possible to do that, to start with a season that is aimed at, maybe it's not juvenile writing so much as it is written to be more friendly to younger audience, because we expect that they're going to grow with this. If let's see, Avatar: The Last Airbender, who here had seen that? Somebody had.
Oh yes.
Yeah,
season 1 is rough. It's very childlike, but it does do this thing where it takes your characters on this journey. And season 2 way better than season 1. Season 3 just knocks it out of the ballpark. It's so good. So that might be what you can expect from this show, that they are hoping to build up something.
I mean, season 2, episode 3, I was talking to Hog about it earlier, with the return of Cody. That for me was probably the best episode so far, because it was
a character that you really enjoyed.
It wasn't even that, because Hog agreed with me that was one of the best episodes he had seen. He enjoyed it, but he didn't know who Cody was. I had to explain to him who Cody was, but. For me, it was the actual episode. It was almost like an action short that was just one and done. Yeah, nice. It was beautiful. It was really nice. I really enjoyed it.
Do you feel that it wove into the story really well, or was it like this could have been taken out and been just a short film all by itself, and it really didn't have any?
It was one standalone episode that I really
short film all by itself.
Okay, I could agree that that's not a good idea to just throw something in there for no reason. It better have had some consequences in the main thread of the main story.
With Cody, it gave you a bit of an insight to another character that pops up.
Okay, there you go.
But that could have worked on its own as a little short because you had Cody, you had Crosshair. It could have worked alone as a short.
I guess what I should have said was it necessary to the show in some way? Does that make sense?
I definitely think moving forward, it's going to have some sort of impact on Crosshair.
Okay, there you go. Then it's fine. It's perfect to put something in, like,
Just
perfectly
moving
fine.
the story forward. Yeah.
There was no kid in it. There was no baby in it. There was no child, and it was even quite bleak at the end of the episode. I don't know about you two.
Yeah, it was nice.
But I think it was quite bleak at the end of the episode, and they go into this like this religious kind of. It's almost like and it's dark, and the stormtroopers are going, and it was really bleak at the end. And I thought, yeah, that's more like it. No kids, no babies, no little baby alien, no cute and cuddly anything. It was just, but it wasn't gory or gratuitous or, you know,
I hope not.
content. It was a bit of good storytelling with Star Wars characters.
Yeah,
that's all I want, and I followed it. Even when I was 10 and watched the first film, I didn't want that film to be made for children. I was only 10, but if that film was made for children, I'd have been switched off. Kids are the worst. When we that, as a kid,
Get rid of them.
yeah, boo. As a child, that's the last thing you want with your entertainment. The last thing you want is to be shown entertainment that is directed at a child. Think about it. I'm not talking about 4 and 5-year-olds that want Teletubbies. I'm talking about as you're getting older, the last thing you want to see, you're growing up, you are maturing. You don't want to see entertainment aimed at children.
You want something that is a challenge for you, something that this is me getting to the next level. I get that. I get that.
Yeah.
Star Wars was not aimed at children. George Lucas at no point aimed that one film at children.
But he made it.
I was sure he went on record and said it was aimed at 12-year-olds.
Well, I wrote stories, but those Commando War stories, I was writing for. It was they were aimed at 12 to 16-year-olds.
Yeah.
That was a very specific demographic. But at no point was I ever told by the editor, and he was a guy with a very long career in publishing. At no one point did that man ever say to me, "You've got to make this more childish." There was a point where there was one story I was writing about the ghettos in World War II, where he said this is too graphic. So I've moved that way, but there was no. We was aiming it that that product that I was writing for, that comic book I was writing, those stories were aimed at those
At that demographic, yeah.
But it didn't mean I had to make it childish.
No,
it didn't have to. It didn't have to involve a 13-year-old boy that was caught up in World War II. He was a refugee, and oh my God, he's got to make it through. No, it was stories about grown-up soldiers and tanks and what. I don't know if that makes sense, but when it's aimed at children, I think children are the first.
But even something like
turn off straight away.
But just ripping off that quickly, Hog, like something like Charlie's War in World War One, he is a young man in that, but at no point does that make it childish. With that story in Charlie's War, he's a young soldier that's almost lied to get conscripted and all that sort of stuff. But it shows the horrors of it. Do you see what I mean? Like, it doesn't make it the childish, naive aspect. It shows
getting it back on track from the creative point.
Yeah,
and you're right. That just from the creative point of view, I think just where Filoni is leaning that way is he's aiming it at children. That's just my I'm not saying this second series of Bad Batch I've enjoyed a lot more. I've watched 3 episodes of it. I only watched 5 minutes of the first episode of series 1.
I remember, yeah.
So because we was doing this, and it's really fallow ground, isn't it, at the moment for genre stuff. So right, let's watch Bad Batch. Let's see if it is improving. I've got to admit it has.
That's good.
But I will still.
And there's definitely more of a balance.
He's not the all-encompassing lord of Star Wars that I think people are giving him.
It's the same thing as what you said before about the prequel trilogy. When George Lucas was allowed,
I was writing for a 5-year-old.
When George Lucas was allowed to go free reign, we got the prequel trilogy. Now, the prequel trilogy was supposed to be my generation's Star Wars. I still hold the original trilogy as my ultimate Star Wars because I saw them in the cinema before the prequels got released, because they re-released the originals before the prequels were released. So I've seen every Star Wars in the cinema, whether it was originally in the cinema because I wasn't around then, but I've seen every Star Wars in the cinema. So for me, it was always the originals, but the prequels were aimed for my generation. And even as a kid, I hated Jar Jar Binks. Even as a kid, I hated some of the aspects of it. But when that was George Lucas given full reign, and in Revenge of the Sith, the third film, is the film that I love the most, but I hate the most. That's not included in the original trilogy. The original trilogy stands alone.
Do you think that was mocking your race, though, with Jar Jar Binks?
But the original, take the original trilogy out of it, because that will always beat everything. Revenge of the Sith for me was,
all 3 of them won't.
Well, the first 2 at least.
Yes.
That beats everything else that's come since. And with Revenge of the Sith, I love that film the most because of the Anakin's arc, etc. But it's also the film I've got the most issues with because of how they did it. Anakin's turn, he stares out of a window, next minute he's murdering children. It doesn't make sense. Like, there's a lot of stuff to that. And some of the dialogue, the balcony scene between him and between him and Padme is the worst bit of writing. It even beats Willow in the worst bits of dialogue. That scene alone is the worst bit of writing I've ever seen.
You love her, don't you? Yes.
It's terrible.
Like that what you just said there, that was the whole reason of bringing out those 6 seasons of Clone Wars. That was George Lucas, a bit more insight into Anakin's fall from grace.
But my point is that
6 years. Filoni, you have to see 6 years of it.
But my point being, no, one you shouldn't have had to have seen that.
One character.
But 2, my main point being was George Lucas having free reign. And look,
no, I get you. I get you.
And Filoni has now almost got free reign. The reason that George Lucas done so well in the originals is because he had that team around him, as Hog said before, that he had someone else directing it. He had someone else. He had the treatments there, but there was other people around him. Filoni needs that crew around him because Filoni, like George, wants to, instead of trying to aim it for everyone, wants to pin it back down into children and aim it towards children. Whereas you had that group around him that brought it up a level and brought the magic out of it so everyone could enjoy it. Filoni's missing that person at the moment. However, saying that, with what he did with The Mandalorian, Filoni's very hit and miss. So what he did with The Mandalorian, what he did with the final season of Clone Wars, and what he's done with this season of Bad Batch right now, he's doing really well. But then you get other hits and misses. Filoni was heavily involved in Boba Fett. Let's not forget that. And Favreau wrote every episode of Boba Fett. Let's not forget that fact either. So it's hit and miss. They just need that little team around them.
Got to be honed.
Just to hone them in and focus them. And we're going to get some amazing Star Wars if that's the case.
See, I disagree with Peria. Filoni's as close to God as you can get. That's my take.
No, but I love that. I love
everything he did from Avatar, Last Airbender onwards.
Great, but how do you explain Boba Fett?
Well, like you say, it was Favreau that wrote all that.
Yeah, but Filoni was involved as well, man. Filoni was involved as well.
Boba Fett.
Yeah, Favreau wrote every episode of Boba Fett. He's got the writing credits on Boba Fett.
There's something about the whole thing that just makes, if I was in charge there, I'd just sweep the decks like, you know, old Zaslav at Warner Brothers.
Don't think, don't get me wrong. Filoni,
There's the door. Get out.
Do not get me wrong. Filoni is your man moving forward for Star Wars, but he needs that team around him.
Is he too close? But is he too close?
Just to bring it up.
Is he too close where you're too much of a fanboy? Listen, look at me.
Yeah, but we come back to that. We come back to that, like the passion. We come back to the passion of the project.
I'll write a Harley Quinn and a Poison Ivy story, right? Does it make, just because I love it, does it make that the best thing ever? No, it don't.
Well, it depends on your depth of understanding of those characters.
He loves it so much. I think it needs. It's like Pixar and Brad Bird with The Incredibles, right? That was the best Fantastic Four film ever written. Not aimed at children, not a comic book movie. It was original. He's got all of these things around me now, and what we're all talking about and what we know and love, distilled into an hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes of film. Not for kids. Just, it was that first, shall I say it? That first Incredibles film was incredible.
Yeah, that works.
You can clip that. You can clip that. I don't mind. No copyright. No copyright. But who doesn't love that film? Who can pick that film apart as crap?
But Pixar does so good at refining their story.
Yeah,
they
did.
Hone in on one thing, and that involves a lot of rewriting and rewriting and rewriting, and what can we improve, how to.
I just want to sort of raise something. This is mainly for Randy and Amber. So I've said it earlier, but I'll say it again. With the first 10 years of Marvel movies, the Infinity Saga, all the way from the first Iron Man to Endgame, with the original Star Wars, it was always aimed for everyone. Children can enjoy it, teenagers can enjoy it, people all the way up to Hog's age can enjoy it. But
they can still hear.
Now, aiming it for a demographic is beneficial because you're honing in on what you're trying to, your target audience. But to get something like the first 10 years of the MCU, and to get the original Star Wars films where everyone can enjoy it, what is the point of trying to aim it towards a certain demographic when you've got all the demographic that are already loving your stuff?
I can't really think of a benefit. All I can think of is that this sounds like the symptom of something going on inside, that maybe they're focusing less on the writing. I mean, when somebody says, wow, they put out 2 seasons that were a hit, or 5 movies that were a hit, we don't need to check what he's doing as much. Or maybe the director himself or the writer themselves, they say, we know what we're doing at this point. We don't need to work so hard on this. We can just write it and spit it out. I think I mentioned it in the last hogCAST, is that this has become the fast food industry, except in film, fast films.
Give them any old crap and they'll have it.
And I think that you can get directors and writers who become, they go from being star chefs to fast food restaurant people, just like quickly put it out there. I can do this. I know what I'm doing. And I don't think I need to even check myself as much anymore. So, and people just trust that.
I can't see Filoni as being that, because he is a fanboy first. He loves this stuff. He has passion for this stuff. He isn't a case of, sorry?
I can believe that too, but even if to a small degree, he's starting to get so confident. I mean, imagine having thousands of people telling you every single day, you are a genius, what you have done with this, like you are the Star Wars god. And I think that was what your words were, Tater. At some point, that's going to make him feel like I don't have to work quite as hard. Maybe he's still working hard, but I guarantee he doesn't feel like he has to prove himself anymore.
I see your point.
I mean, Lizard, I think you're absolutely right. I mean, there's no point if you have people who understand writing for multiple generation audiences. There is no point to target a specific age group. But I think the problem is that also is a skill, a talent that is not as widely found. I mean, I've written 2 middle grade books, and I'm not sure if that's a term that everyone will know, but that's, so I've written 2 books that are for say 9 to 14. Now, adults enjoy that. And so the real trick and what we see in the early Marvel stuff is that you write a story, not a story for kids. You write a story. Maybe you have kids in it, right? Or maybe you have things like superheroes that kids enjoy. That pulls in the young people. But the fact that you're telling a real story, not a baby story, a real story, pulls in the adults. And the adults will be okay. They will be okay with the fact that you have, I don't know, I have monsters in one of my stories that have explosive snot. Okay, you know what? The adults find that funny. The kids find that funny. The kids love that. I put that in there for the kids, but the adults love it too because it's not ruining the story. The story is good. The adults are following that story, and they're accepting of the extra stuff that goes in with a story kind of targeted for younger audiences. And you'll see plenty of examples of that. I don't know if you guys are familiar with a cartoon called Roger Ramjet.
Yes.
Okay, so I watched it as a kid. I loved it, right? Because it's a cartoon. I watch it as an adult, and I'm like, oh my gosh, these stories are stories that adults are pulling. They're pulling a completely different story, a completely different message from it, and it's very entertaining on an adult level, and it's very entertaining on a kid's level. So that can be kind of tough, and if they don't understand that process, you're going to get what we're starting to see. We're going to see stuff that the adults are like, oh, that's just childish and I'm not enjoying it. Right. So I'll guarantee that. What is that? They're not understanding real storytelling. They're like, oh, I'm going to write down to the kids. And that's always a mistake.
Yes, that's fundamental, actually, Randy, is writing down.
Right.
Whether you're whether you're dumbing something down for children or aiming something at, oh, bless you.
Thank you.
For a specific audience, but it's too narrow. Like a specific audience, if you're within the creative process, if you're aiming it at, no, actually, you can't aim it. Like you've just said, you write the story or you don't.
Yeah.
You tell the story. You tell the story of the three bears. You don't aim it at children. It's just a parable. None of these stories from mythical legend onwards aren't aimed at any demographic, are they?
No,
they're not.
Where they go, that's all I think now, is overthinking it and narrowing it down based on an algorithm. What an algorithm tells a human that more humans would like. That's where it's all going wrong. Instead of letting that creator maybe to stretch himself a bit. But when it comes to, it's different with a comic or a novel where it can be aimed, I think, more specifically. But when it becomes live action, I think when it becomes more mass media, you can't. I think you've got to have a bit more free. Right, the more you aim it, I think the less you're going to hit the mark. I really do. It's like saying to someone, write me a gratuitous horror movie with loads of gore. That's going to be shit.
Well, your focus is not the story anymore. Your focus is your target audience or
shit. I can explain myself very well. That's going to be really
no. So Hog, I think we have a good example of it right now. So what is that? Megan, right?
Yeah.
The movie Megan.
Yes.
That is PG-13. Is doing well. It is PG-13.
Yes.
So it hasn't artificially restricted itself to a specific audience by gratuitous blood, violence, and whatever, right? They've left it more open for all audiences, and it is doing very well.
That's why Split did well back in the day as well.
Yeah.
I think it's easy to write one specific tiny, to entertain a small audience. I think it's really easy. But I think these people are masquerading.
Look what we're doing.
Media.
Look what we're doing. We're entertaining a small audience. It's quite simple, isn't it?
We're mass media.
But to get to the masses, you have to aim it at the widest net possible. But the fundamental, as we're all agreeing, is the story. You get the story down and you just aim at everyone. Never dumb it down. Never try and hone in. There's some aspects of a demographic that you have to follow. But when it comes to this mass franchise stuff like the MCU, like Star Wars, there's no need to try and make specifics about that.
No, but what I am thinking is that with Bad Batch, this series 2 we're talking about, and with Andor, I think we are seeing like the green shoots of recovery into some decent storytelling, like not aimed at, not the guys at Dismal Minor saying, you do a cartoon for kids. You have a little boy on a snowboard and you have a little girl with this, this.
You know what I think was really the launching point for that is Mandalorian, because if you think about it, it would have taken this long for seeing the success of the Mandalorian season 1 to have branched out. So I think that things like Kenobi and all the other stuff, it was too soon. They came out. They came out while the Mandalorian was still, the first season was still becoming a huge success. I didn't mean they came out. They were being produced while the Mandalorian was just proving itself to be a success. And yeah, it takes a few years for people to start seeing the results and say, now you're going to see good things coming out, because people watched the success and said, we need to do what they're doing. And then it takes a couple years and then they put their stuff out. So we're at the tail end, I think, of the shit show bubble.
Yeah,
I hope so.
Yeah, I hope so. I don't know how much more I can take, to be honest.
Some areas.
Because the trailer for Mando Series 3 looked pretty decent.
Yeah, I'm excited about that.
So based on Bad Batch Series 2, I'm enjoying. Because it sounds like I'm being really down on everything. I'm flowing and all that. I'm just saying he's not the god that Tayters thinks he is. Nevertheless, I'm enjoying Bad Batch Series 2. That Mando trailer for Series 3 looks like that could be a 7.5 out of 10. And Andor was pretty decent. It was, I thought.
Yeah.
So,
all right, guys.
Go on, Randy.
I have to bow out. I'm at my time limit for today.
Oh, okay, mate.
You're there already. Jesus.
Yeah, so it's been fun. I hope my earlier comment, I don't remember what it was, but it won't get me banned. Oh, not having $600 million in my pocket.
Randy,
still come back.
Trust me, his memory's not that good. You're fine.
No, I'm gonna sift through the edit of this video with a fine-tooth comb, and we're gonna have a chat, mate, over the weekend.
No, it's been good. It's been good talking to you, Randy, mate. It's been good for your little insights. It's been good.
Yes, definitely. Someone actually knows what they're doing.
And you'll have to
talk to you all later.
See you later. Take care.
Bye.
Right, are we going to carry on with
I'm big now.
What else?
No, I just went
Yeah. What else did we watch? The menu. Did anyone watch the menu? Did anyone watch the menu?
Yes.
The menu. Did you watch it?
Have we all watched it?
Yeah.
I think so.
Go on, who wants to kick off with that then?
I have a way better ending for it than the one that it has, but I think I'm going to make a video out of it, so I might wait.
Go on. Oh, no. Oh,
no, that's fine. That's cool. That's cool.
How can you kick it off with, I can't say a lot about it because I'm going to...
Okay, all right, yeah, I'm just going to say, okay, not because I mean, big deal. Okay, we have seen... This is a horror film. This isn't a psychological horror. It's a horror film. It's people trapped and they know they're going to die, right?
Yeah.
They're trying to escape. They can't escape. Okay, so I had problems with the writing and making, the characters doing things that I thought were believable, but I wanted this to be more than what it looked like it was, and it wasn't. It didn't end up being more. They all still died at the end. So here's what I wanted to have happen. I wanted the chef at the very end to reveal that it was all theatrics. They were all going to die when they get there. The old them was going to die, and they would come out of this changed people, because they were all terrible people in some way, with the exception of the older woman who was with her husband who was cheating on her. I mean, I felt bad for her. But I thought it would have been more interesting if you got to but then again, it would have been a different story, because there would have been no point in having that redheaded chick there at all. But that's what I would have liked. I would have liked to have seen that this was something different, but it wasn't. It was just a horror film where we follow the beautiful girl. She gets blood all over her and fights somebody to the death, and then she escapes.
With a burger.
Yeah. With a burger.
With a burger. Yeah.
But, the thing is, it would have been a different movie altogether, because the master would have been the chef instead of the chef being one of the pawns, because she manipulated him at the end. She changed him.
I mean, I did enjoy that aspect of the film, to be fair.
Oh, no, I totally enjoyed it. I thought it was great. I loved every second of it. My whole family was watching it together. But if I was going to try to make an original story, something that was unlike anything anybody else had seen up to that point, it would have all been theatrics. Everyone would have been totally convinced it's real. And then he would have come out and said, all right, you guys can all return to the real world now. But now you guys know that I know you've been padding the receipts for your...
It's almost like the Fight Club effect. When he pulls out that bloke from the corner shop, holds a gun to his head and says, what do you want to be? And he says he wants to be a veterinarian. And he threatens him with death. If you don't make your way to becoming a veterinarian in the next couple of weeks, I'll come to your house and I will kill you. And then afterwards, Tyler Durden says that the next morning he'll wake up and it'll be the best breakfast he's ever had and all that sort of stuff.
Such a film
It would have been a totally different story, but I think it would have been more unique than it was.
100%. I think for me, the key to it was that when you get a horror film with some dark humor in it, most of the time it ends up being one of those B horror films like Sharknado, like Zombie Beavers, like all these other random horror films that you get, like Nuns with Big Guns that we watched. Like all these random...
Don't go there! You're revealing all of their smart film night secrets. No, we don't go there.
all the random B-list horror films that end up becoming a comedy, and they're filmed on low budget, they're filmed badly for a reason, because people like, for some reason, watching bad horror films. The comedy in this one, it stood up. It was a A-grade horror film with good comedy with it. Like, and I still go back to it, the clincher for me was at the end when they were doing the little what was in the ingredients for each meal.
Yeah, I love that.
Screen, and it came up on screen, and it was at the end, and it said some more marshmallows, chocolate, graham crackers, customers, the staff, and restaurant. Straight away, just sick.
I did really enjoy it. This was my
sick humor
film, but all I thought is if they'd have left the violence more ambiguous. So when the old boy gets his finger cut off, like what Amber's saying about the theatrics of it, if they'd have left that more ambiguous, so whatever way they did that with his finger getting cut off, because maybe the wife's already found out that he's been cheating on her, so she's going, she's saying to the rest of the restaurant, he's just pretending, ignore him. We don't know whether that's been chopped off or not.
So the audience is guessing till the end.
Yes. So they're thinking.
I agree.
I would have just, if that would have just kept that tension going. And I don't know what point, because it's all right retconning someone else's creativity. But I thought from that moment his finger gets chopped off, we're done then. it's all gone.
Yeah, I felt the same.
If they'd have kept that more ambiguous, like the scissors in his leg.
Yeah.
I did love it. It was so darkly, so nicely.
I didn't really understand what the horror of it was because we have restaurants like that all over the place about where I'm from.
That's typical service. Yeah, that's
that's normal
Spent
service.
a load of dough in those restaurants where they give you the little peanut with foam all over it, and you go, "Oh, I've just paid £100 for this." I mean, that was the horror.
that was.
Reminded me of all those receipts I've got. But no, I did think that was again delightfully quirky.
It was
Quirky.
It was
Quirky.
Yeah,
it was refreshing. It was definitely
so
refreshing.
intense.
Yeah,
It was intense through the whole thing. You felt like the knives were sharp, you know.
it was Ralph Fiennes as well. His performance.
Yeah.
He plays a great bad guy.
Yeah,
that became a thing, didn't it?
quirky. I watched that and it was great. And I thought to myself, is this what schizophrenia feels like? It's just like I was like, this is a visual representation of what it is to be schizophrenic.
Or of what a Ponzi restaurant is.
Yeah,
You're paying all the money in the world and you're miserable.
And they don't even give you a bread. Where's me bread?
Yeah, but that was the underlying thing, wasn't it?
So
You're spending all the money in the world and you're not happy.
And tired of bullshit.
I actually thought the dishes should have been way more expensive. $1,200. I mean, come on. They should have charged a lot more. They're feeding 12 people a day.
On the writing side of it, though, character-wise, right from the beginning, right from that first scene, where she's having a cigarette and he's saying, "Oh, your palate," so you know that he's a bird.
And I love the fact he wasn't really.
I thought they really got on with it. I thought it was very lean.
I thought all the performances were awesome. All the performances were awesome. Ralph Fiennes is always a guaranteed person that's going to deliver.
Yeah.
Nicholas Hoult as well. But for me, I think it was Anna Taylor-Joy. Her character was awesome throughout. Really good.
Woman that I think any director in this world at the moment can mould that woman into what they want. I think one of those actresses that, I know, yes,
she just delivers.
She delivers. Right. The director can just mould her into, like, if you watch her in The Northman, or you watch her in The Queen's Gambit, and then you watch her in this, and it's like, wow, wow, wow.
Yeah.
She's definitely moving forward. She's definitely the upcoming. I know she's done quite a bit already, but I think we still haven't seen her performance she'll be remembered for. I'm looking forward to seeing her in more stuff.
I think she'll get annoying before that.
Well, probably.
She'll be in everything now. She's going to turn up. She'll turn up in EastEnders, Coronation Street.
Oh God.
NCIS. She'll turn up in everything.
But you know what? The characters. So I loved everything except the ending with the other patrons. I did not believe that they would just sit there and accept that they're going to die. Because I've watched this movie 3 times now. And
love the Amber, love it. Love your dedication.
If you watch the scene that happens with the other patrons right before that s'mores scene, they still wanted to get out of there, because the scene that happens right before was the Coast Guard guy.
Yeah.
The Coast Guard guy comes in and they're like, "Oh, thank God you're saving us," you know, and then it's a joke and they're, you know, like, "Oh, great, that guy's not going to help us." They still wanted to live. And you looked around the room and you saw, I think one of the characters looked like she was praying, like, "Thank you."
Yes.
The one gal, she's like, "Thank you."
Yeah,
and I'm like, no.
For me, the issue was actually before that, when they all went running on the island, when they sent them out on the run, and they all split up. I'm not being funny. If you're fighting for your life, and the most logical thing is you run off together, so that way you can take them all out. But you run off on your own. Okay, let's just imagine that. You're all panicked, you're not thinking, you run off on your own, you find yourself in that situation where you are on your own. You got two guys that aren't armed that are coming after you. One, you're going to get adrenaline rush, so you can keep running. But two, you're going to fight those guys. You're going to put up a fight against those guys before you come back. You might be able to take out one, you might be able to take out both. They may take you out. But I was expecting when they get dragged back to that, they're going to be, there's going to be a mass, like some of the guards are going to be killed. They're going to be beaten up. I was expecting something more from that. The fact that they just ran and then, oh no, I'm cool, and then just walk back in. When your life's on the line, you're going to be fighting for love and God on that aspect.
Especially those three guys who were sitting at the table together. They thought so highly of themselves. They thought they had all the power. There's no way they would have psychologically given up like that at any point in the story. It doesn't matter if they're like, oh, what are we going to go home to? Our boss is dead and we've been exposed as frauds. You don't switch like that to suddenly become on life.
No, but we're trying to ground the story now, aren't we?
Yes.
Yeah, we are trying to ground the story. You're right.
Yeah.
But I still would have liked to have seen something that was a catalyst for their giving up hope. And the Coast Guard wasn't it for me.
It's a hyper reality that I mean,
I
didn't enjoy it for an hour and a half or whatever.
Oh, I still loved it. Absolutely.
Great,
I must admit, a highlight for me was the tacos.
What was that?
The highlight for me was the old tacos with the laser print on it.
Yes, loved that.
Yes,
that was brilliant. So funny.
But it was nice to see. It's very rare you see a horror film with that dark humor integrated so well, and that was integrated beautifully throughout the whole film.
It was.
A lot of it was ad lib.
Yeah,
was it
really?
Didn't know that.
Wow.
I was just going to say it was a bold experiment, and I'd rather see a load of stuff like that. Than.
This is a credit to the actors, though, who were really dedicated and knew what they were doing.
Yeah, that was one great cast.
This is something I wanted to do. If you remember, Liz, we spoke about this. Having a script, but it's just you're describing what's going to happen in the scene, and then let the actors go with it.
As long as you've got the money to have an 18-year shoot.
Yeah.
And joke around and jump. Oh, I'm going to decide to do a little kangaroo impression.
Oh, right. Hang on. I want Randy back and can say, no, you can do that.
Yeah. As long as you got the dough. I don't think improv always works. I think it's Anchorman 2 proved that too much improv doesn't make a better film. Because Anchorman was in a lot of improv.
Again, everything's with balance. So when it comes to everything is with balance. So when it comes to improv, when you get a little golden moment like that, where an actor comes up with something, you take it. You literally take the win. To have something all improv, I'm still a bit, but to have something where everyone's come together and it goes back to that collaboration, everyone comes together and everything just gels and becomes that sorbet that everyone wants. Love it. And that is what I think has happened with this film, is that the actors have ad-libbed some bits, but the overall story is still there. There's bits that we're nitpicking that we're thinking, hang on a minute, they gave up a bit too easy, but we were still engaged and it was still intense all the way through, because it is different to what we have seen before. Has there been any other horror film where it's been set in a restaurant like that? It's it's almost like a new concept.
Almost like one of the meals that Ralph Fiennes is dishing up.
Yeah.
It's here today, gone tomorrow. It's like you watch the film and it's off. It's gone.
Yeah.
I think we're going to see more films, horror films like this, where it's a thriller horror film.
Yes.
Because it did so well. And I keep thinking of all the Agatha Christie adaptations that are happening lately. I swear, I feel like I turn on the TV and there's a new one every month. They're coming out like crazy. I think we're going to see a lot more like this. And I would have no problem with there being twists and, it's going to be a hotel this time, or you know, it's going to be a research lab this next time or what something. I think it's going to be fun. We're going to see more like this. Yeah.
Over any other genre, horror is the one that's reinvented itself more times than ever. And it's about time we saw that new reinvention. We've had the slashers, we've had the paranormal, we've had the found footage. Now we're going into that new generation where I think it's going to go more in the direction of this.
Yeah.
With the menu and stuff. And again, with cinema in general, you always have those trends. We've been saying about how superheroes have taken over the last God knows how many years. What is the next trend going to be? And I said it before, I generally think it's going to be more manga stuff. And I think we're going to get more manga moving forwards. But with horror, I think we're going to get more stuff like this, like you say, the more horror thriller sort of aspect of it.
Maybe.
I love it. I mean, I don't mind it. It's going to burn itself out though, but I will see some good stuff come out before it does.
Definitely.
It does,
Yeah.
The horror thing.
Definitely.
I think each genre, it's all cyclical in anything, like whether it's politics, whatever, it's all cyclical, and each genre always comes around and burns itself out, and then you get the next lot come along.
Yeah. Someone reinvents it. Yeah.
You know, at one point, Scream, you would have said reinvented horror. You would have said Saw or Hostel. Whatever it is, you know, Friday the 13th back in the day, and whatever it is, horror genre, bum, 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 each generation's come through. So, but yeah. But that was a good example, mate, of the next generation coming through, maybe? Can I say that?
Yeah.
No, definitely.
Subgenre.
Yeah.
Definitely. And I think
on horror.
Yeah, and it's as it is a mad concept as well within the horror genre. It's a mad concept. Like you couldn't that was more of an intense sort of level with that. More, it wasn't psychological, but it was in a way because of the intensity behind it. It wasn't gratuitous with the gore. It wasn't paranormal in any way. It was real life.
Do you know the most gratuitous scene that there was in that film for me? It was when he put the two burgers, the two patties,
and smushed it.
Yeah. And the cheese melted in, and I thought, oh.
So I was expecting that, but honestly, this is one of the times when my predictions.
That biscuit, I thought, fuck.
This is one of the times one of my predictions was totally wrong. I honestly thought the cheeseburger was going to be Tyler. I thought.
So many people said that.
Oh no!
Yeah.
Honestly,
I was the same. I was the same. I didn't see anything in that whole movie that alluded to anything like that.
No, did I?
No,
that would have been absolutely pathetic.
Yeah, it would have been, but I was expecting it.
As if David Filoni had written
it. David.
Anyway, listen, guys. I think that might be a good
finish.
Full stop.
Yeah.
On another good old ramble.
We waffled for a while there, didn't we?
An eclectic collection of stuff we love and hate. Stuff we love and hate.
I must admit, though, we've been more positive than usual, haven't we? To be fair, there's been a lot of
the stuff I love. I've made a note. Be more positive.
There we go.
No, but yeah, no. To be fair, Liz, we have. I think we've been a bit more, which I've really enjoyed, because I think we've loved more. We was knocking on Willow, but other than that, Avatar 2, Last of Us, Kaleidoscope, Bab. Yeah, I'm going to call this a positive cast.
We've had a good couple of weeks.
Thanks again, Amber, for joining us.
Yeah, I look forward to the next one, though. I really look forward to the next one.
Yeah, me too.
Yes, and the sci-fi, the TV sci-fi special. I think then we'll gush. We'll have to start that. I think we'll have to allow at least about 8 hours.
Yeah, we've all got our choices set for that, haven't we?
Just by the fact that I dropped that one tiny picture of Voyager on a WhatsApp group, and it went boom, and there's only 5 of us. There's only 5 of us on it, and I thought, fuck it, I've never read so many WhatsApp. So I only put a photo on there so I can tell.
So we've all got our choices set for that, haven't we?
Yeah.
Are we going to plug our choices now?
No, shut up. Let's all
Leave
go.
it, leave it.
Let's all go night. Amber, thank you. Taters, as always. And Liz.
Thank you very much. It's good to see you again, Amber.
Yeah, good
You
to see you.
too.
Yes.
See you
Night,
soon.
night, darlings.
2 more,
Night, night,
2 more
darlings.
weeks. Let's hope something else comes out.
2 weeks.
Night, night, darlings.
Adios.
See you
Have a
soon.
good one.